The school bully grabbed my class queen girlfriend in front of the whole class, and this time I kept my hands in my pockets. In my last life, those same hands had broken Tyler Hayes' mouth for Madison Cole, then signed away my future under a disciplinary notice before the SAT, the most important exam of my life. So, when Madison screamed my name like I was still her personal bodyguard, I smiled, turned around, and walked away. The classroom went dead quiet. Tyler Hayes still had one hand on Madison's wrist. He was tall, athletic, and permanently wearing that rich kid expression that said every hallway in Westbridge High belonged to his family, which was almost true. His father, Dean Hayes, handled student discipline, and Tyler had been living under that umbrella so long he probably thought school rules were weather. Madison stumbled back from him, face red, eyes already shining. She had the timing, the angle, and the victim tremble ready before the room even decided what it had seen. In my first life, that look had ripped the brain right out of my skull. I had charged across the classroom before anyone could stop me. Tyler laughed. I swung, he went down, and the class exploded. For maybe 10 seconds, I felt like a hero. Then the teachers came. Madison cried in the office and said she never asked me to fight. Tyler's friends said I was jealous. Mr. Morrison, our homeroom teacher, told me senior year was too important for emotional outbursts. Dean Hayes arrived with a face full of righteous disappointment, as if his son had not started the whole thing. I wrote the self-reflection. I apologized. I took the school-wide criticism. That disciplinary record followed me straight into the most important months before the SAT. I missed opportunities I should have fought for. My head never settled again, and the exam that should have changed my life became the day I learned how expensive one stupid punch could be. The funniest part came after graduation. Madison Cole, the girl I had ruined myself defending, started dating Tyler Hayes. Then she married him. So yes, when I opened my eyes and found myself back in his classroom, watching the exact same scene happen again, I did not feel heroic. I felt awake. "Logan," Madison called after me. My classmates stared like I had just committed a crime by refusing to perform the expected one. Someone near the back whispered, "Is he seriously leaving?" Tyler's mouth twitched. He looked disappointed. That was the first reward of my second life. The guy had set out bait and the fish had checked the hook, yawned, and swum away. I made it halfway to the hallway before Madison caught up and grabbed my sleeve. "Logan, what is wrong with you?" Her voice shook, just loud enough for the classroom to hear. "You saw what he did to me." I looked down at her hand on my sleeve. In my last life, I would have heard pain in her voice. This time, all I heard was direction. "Stand here, get angry, hit him, take the blame." "I saw," I said. Madison's eyes widened. "Then why did you walk away?" "Because my legs work." A few people in the doorway sucked in breath. One boy made a sound that was almost a laugh, then swallowed it when Madison turned her wet eyes on him. She pulled me farther into the hall, lowering her voice. "Are you mad at me? Is that it? I know Tyler was being disgusting, but if you just leave like that, everyone will think you are scared." Under the tremble, the priority was obvious. Image. "Everyone?" I asked. Madison bit her lip. "I mean, you are my boyfriend." That word landed softer than it should have. In the old life, I had lived on crumbs from that word. A smile in the corridor. A late-night message, a casual, "You understand me better than anyone." Enough sugar to keep a fool walking into fire. I slipped my sleeve out of her fingers. "Funny," I said. "When trouble shows up, I am your boyfriend. When the teacher asks who started it, I become some random guy with anger issues." Her face stiffened. "That is not fair," she whispered. "You are right. Fairness left the room when Tyler touched you and somehow I became the one everyone was waiting to punish." Madison blinked fast, tears gathering again. "She was good. I had to give her that. If crying had an entrance exam, she would have gone straight to a top university." "I did not ask him to do that," she said. "I know." Relief flashed across her face. Then I added, "And I did not ask to be your shield." Her hand froze in midair. Behind us, Tyler leaned against the classroom door like he owned the building. "Wow," he drawled. "Cole, your boyfriend is kind of useless." The old me would have turned around. The current me looked at him once and smiled. "Tyler, if you need attention that badly, raise your hand in class. It is free." The hallway cracked. A few students laughed before fear caught up with them. Tyler's face darkened. Madison's tears stopped for half a second, which told me more than the tears ever had. Before Tyler could answer, Mr. Morrison's voice cut down the hall. "Logan Miller, Madison Cole, Tyler Hayes, office, now." The school machine had woken up. Inside the teacher's office, the air smelled like old tea, chalk dust, and adult certainty. Mr. Morrison sat behind his desk with his fingers pressed together. Madison stood to one side, eyes lowered. Tyler leaned near the window, already bored. I stood in the middle like the answer key had been filled in before I arrived. Mr. Morrison sighed. Logan, senior year is a critical period. You have always had good grades. Why are you causing trouble now? I almost admired the speed. We had skipped investigation and gone straight to disappointment. Teacher, I said, what trouble did I cause? Mr. Morrison frowned. Do not play word games. Tyler says you provoked him. Madison says there was a misunderstanding. The whole class saw you arguing in the hallway. The whole class also saw Tyler grab Madison. Tyler clicked his tongue. I was joking. Great, I said. Then I am laughing on the inside. Mr. Morrison slapped the desk lightly, not hard enough to be scary, just hard enough to remind everyone which adult owned the room. Enough. Logan, even if Tyler's behavior was inappropriate, your attitude afterward was terrible. You embarrassed your classmate, spoke sarcastically, and disrupted class order. I nodded slowly. So Tyler grabs someone, Madison drags me into it, and my attitude is the emergency. Madison lifted her face. Logan, why are you saying it like that? I did not drag you into anything. I looked at her. The office went quiet. In my pocket, my phone felt heavier than it should have. I still had the message she sent before class, the one that said Tyler had been bothering her again, the one that asked if I could stay close because she felt scared. In the old life, I never showed it. I thought protecting her meant swallowing the proof. That was how a person trained himself into a doormat and called it love. Mr. Morrison opened a drawer and pulled out a blank school form. Here is what we are going to do. You will write a sincere self-reflection. 1,500 words. You will apologize to Tyler and Madison for escalating the situation. If your attitude is good, I can keep this from becoming a larger disciplinary issue. The universe had gift-wrapped the first tiny victory for me. Same room, same teacher, same trap, different idiot. No, I said. Mr. Morrison stared at me. What did you say? I said no, I am not writing it. Tyler straightened by the window, suddenly interested. Madison's face changed so fast it almost made me laugh. Panic first, then anger, then that soft, pleading look she used when she wanted someone else to pay her bill. Logan, she said quickly. Do not be stubborn, just write it. This is senior year. Do you really want this to become serious? That is exactly why I am not writing it. Mr. Morrison's voice hardened. Do you understand the consequences of refusing a teacher's arrangement? I understand consequences better than anyone in this room. For 1 second, then my voice came out too flat. The old exam hall flashed behind my eyes, my shaking hand, the blank space where an answer should have been, my mother's tired smile afterward, pretending my score did not break her heart. The joke died in my throat. Mr. Morrison did not notice. Adults like him rarely notice the human part. They noticed compliance. Fine, he said. Since you refuse to cooperate, I will call your parent. Madison went pale. That was interesting. Mr. Morrison picked up the office phone and found my mother's number in the contact system. As it rang, Madison took 1 step toward me. Logan, she whispered, can you stop making this worse? For who? Her mouth opened. No answer. Beautiful. My mother arrived 20 minutes later, still wearing the cardigan she used at home when she was rushing out too fast. Her face was tight with worry, and that part hurt. I could laugh at Tyler. I could laugh at Madison. I could even laugh at Mr. Morrison pretending to be fair. I could not laugh at my mother walking into school thinking her son had become the kind of boy who caused trouble over a girl. Logan, she said softly, pulling me aside. Tell me what happened. Mr. Morrison started. Mrs. Miller, the situation is already very clear. Then let my son speak, my mother said. The office went still. My mother was not loud. That was what made it work. I took out my phone, opened the chat, and handed it to her. Madison messaged me before class. She said Tyler was bothering her. She said she was scared. In my last, I stopped myself. I thought she wanted help. Then when things got ugly, she acted like I inserted myself. My mother read the message once. Then again, her fingers tightened around my phone. Madison Cole, she said, turning toward the girl by the desk. Did you send this? Madison's eyes filled again. Auntie, I was scared then. I did not mean for Logan to misunderstand. Misunderstand? My mother's voice sharpened. You ask my son for help, then let the teacher treat him like the problem. Tyler snorted. It is just a message. Nobody told him to act like her boyfriend. I glanced at him. Nobody told you to act like a handsy clown either, but here we are. Mr. Morrison snapped. Logan. My mother looked at him. Teacher, my son has proof that Madison asked him for help. Tyler admitted he touched her as a joke. Why is my son the only one being told to write a reflection? For the first time, Mr. Morrison looked uncomfortable. It lasted about 2 seconds. Mrs. Miller, he said, adjusting his glasses, Madison should not have sent a vague message, and Tyler's joking was inappropriate. I will speak to them separately. But setting aside those facts, Logan's attitude is still the biggest issue right now. Mr. Morrison had finally said the quiet part in a full sentence. It was so stupid it deserved a frame. I laughed quietly. Enough for him to hear. Mr. Morrison's face sank. What are you laughing at? Nothing, teacher. I am impressed. Impressed? Yes. Setting aside the facts, could I also be the emperor? If we are putting reality on vacation, I want a better title. My mother's eyes flicked toward me, warning me to stop before my mouth filed its own disciplinary notice. But Mr. Morrison's face turning purple did heal something small inside me. You are mocking your teacher now? He demanded. No, I am asking why the facts only become optional when they help me. The office door opened before he could answer. Dean Hayes stepped in with a folder under his arm and Tyler's same jawline on his face. If anyone ever needed proof that school politics could be hereditary, there it was. He did not look at Tyler first, he looked at me. Logan Miller, he said. I heard you refused to write a self-reflection and insulted your homeroom teacher. I looked from him to Tyler, then back again. Fast news service. Dean Hayes's eyes cooled. This attitude is exactly the problem. Your grades are good, but grades are not everything. A student who does not respect teachers cannot stay at Westbridge High and poison the learning environment. My mother stepped forward. Dean Hayes, my son showed proof that this girl asked him for help. Your son was involved too. Dean Hayes finally glanced at Tyler with a father's quick inventory check, like he was making sure the family vase had no scratch. Tyler will be educated at home, he said. Tyler looked at the floor. He was trying not to smile. My mother saw it. Her face changed. Good. It hurt her, but the fog was clearing. Dean Hayes continued. The issue now is Logan's refusal to accept school discipline. He disrupted class, argued with classmates, talked back to his teacher, and now mocks the office process. Mrs. Miller, I understand parents protect their children, but senior year leaves no room for this kind of instability. Instability, I repeated. That word had followed me in the old life too. Unstable, emotional, jealous, impulsive. They never called Tyler protected. They never called Madison dishonest. The labels always landed on the person without a dean for a father. Dean Hayes placed the folder on Mr. Morrison's desk. Here are your options. Logan writes a sincere self-reflection, apologizes to Mr. Morrison and the students involved, and accepts a formal warning. Or he can leave Westbridge High. We cannot teach a student who refuses basic discipline. My mother went still. The same wall rose in front of me, painted with nicer words. In my first life, this was where I folded. I told myself one apology was cheaper than losing the school, one self-reflection was cheaper than worrying my parents, one lie on paper was cheaper than a fight with adults. Then one lie became a record. Then one record became a missed chance. Then one missed chance became years of waking up with my chest full of sand. I looked at Madison. She had tears on her face again, but her eyes were fixed on me with something sharper than fear. She wanted me cornered. She wanted me to choose the old script because the old script had worked beautifully for her. I looked at Tyler. He was safe enough to be bored. I looked at Mr. Morrison. He was waiting for my head to lower. Finally, I looked at my mother. Her anger was still there, but worry had climbed over it. She was thinking about my future, my file, the SAT, the school reputation, all the words adults used when they wanted a child to swallow something bitter and call it medicine. I gave her a small smile. Mom, I said. Do not worry, she whispered. Logan, I am not writing a fake confession. Dean Hayes's mouth tightened. Then you understand what that means. I do. I turned back to him. If Westbridge High needs me to pretend Tyler did nothing, Madison said nothing, and Mr. Morrison saw nothing, then I am done here. Madison flinched. I kept going before anyone could interrupt. I will transfer. The office fell silent. Even Tyler's bored face cracked a little. Dean Hayes stared at me as if students were not supposed to know exits existed. Mr. Morrison recovered first. Do not speak impulsively. This is the final stretch before the SAT. Transferring now could ruin your future. I almost smiled again. In another life, staying here had already done that. Teacher, I said, my future survived one death. It can survive a transfer. My mother sucked in a breath. Madison's face went white. Dean Hayes's eyes narrowed because he thought I was being dramatic. That was fine. Let him think that. I picked up my phone from my mother's hand and slid it back into my pocket. The proof was still there. My hands were still clean. Tyler Hayes was still standing. Madison Cole was still lying. Westbridge High was still Westbridge High. The only thing that had changed was me. I bowed my head slightly to my mother, not to the teachers. Let's go home after this, I said. Tomorrow, we ask about Brookfield High. And for the first time since I woke up in this cursed day again, the path ahead looked hard, but possible. The news that I might transfer reached homeroom 204 before I did. By the time Mr. Morrison pushed open the classroom door, half the class had already decided I was the villain of their personal tragedy. They skipped Tyler, who started the fight bait. They skipped Madison, who had invited me into the mess and then cried like she had been kidnapped by my bad attitude. Somehow, the blame landed on me. Amazing. I had been reborn for less than one school day, and already the group project was blaming the one person who refused to carry it. Mr. Morrison stood at the lectern with his face tight enough to crack. Mrs. Miller was still beside me, holding her handbag with both hands, trying to look calm for my sake. Dean Hayes had gone ahead, probably to prepare the official version where his son remained a misunderstood athlete and I became a dangerous social problem in need of a stamp. "Class," Mr. Morrison said, "because Logan Miller refuses to recognize his mistake, this matter has now become more serious." The teacher voice arrived. Soft enough to sound reasonable, sharp enough to turn 28 students into a jury. Madison lowered her head at her desk. Her eyes were red again. If crying were an elective, she would have been recommended to a national team. Someone near the window muttered, "Just apologize already." Another boy said louder, "Yeah, why drag everyone into this?" Ryan Brooks, my desk mate, leaned back so far his chair almost gave up on him. He looked at me with the horror of a man watching his answer key walk into the ocean. "Bro," Ryan whispered, "if you leave, who am I supposed to copy physics from?" That was Ryan. Class loyalty, but make it academically parasitic. I dropped my bag beside my desk and said, "This is the most touching reason anyone has ever asked me to stay." Ryan pressed one hand to his chest. "I am speaking from the heart." The class laughed in patches, which annoyed Mr. Morrison more than my refusal had. He rapped his knuckles on the lectern. "This is not funny. Logan, stand in the back. Since you do not want to reflect in writing, perhaps you can reflect standing." I looked at Mrs. Miller. She looked back at me, still worried, but not confused anymore. She had seen Madison's message. She had heard Mr. Morrison say with his own mouth that facts could be set aside. That did something to me. In the last life, I had spent years feeling like even my own explanations came out covered in mud. This time, one person who mattered had seen the clean version before anyone could smear it. I picked up my bag again. "No thank you," I said. "I already reflected. I found the problem." Mr. Morrison's mouth flattened. "And what is the problem?" "This school." The classroom went still. Beautiful silence. Expensive silence. The kind schools only produced when a student said the quiet part in a public room. Madison looked up quickly. Tyler was not in the classroom anymore, which made sense. Protected boys did not wait around for paperwork. They were always mysteriously absent when consequences came to collect rent. Mr. Morrison pointed toward the door. "Office, now." Mrs. Miller stepped forward before I could answer. "If Logan is transferring, what paperwork do we need?" Mr. Morrison's expression twitched. For all his talk about discipline, he had not expected my mother to help me leave. Adults like him liked parents frightened and obedient. A mother asking for forms was a different species. "Mrs. Miller," he said, softening his voice into fake patience, "a transfer at this stage is not simple. The SAT is approaching. Brookfield High is not Westbridge High. Logan is being emotional." I smiled. "Teacher, if you say for your own good, I might start charging tuition." Ryan made a strangled sound behind me. Mrs. Miller did not smile. She only said, "Please give us the paperwork." Mr. Morrison held that look for 3 seconds, probably searching for the version of this scene where he still controlled us. Then he opened a drawer, pulled out a transfer and withdrawal packet, and slapped it on the desk. "You will need signatures from me, the great office, Dean Hayes, and Principal Bennett. Since Logan insists on destroying his own future, the school will not stop him." "Good," I said. "I hate when people stand in front of destruction. It blocks the lighting." "Logan," my mother said, because she was still my mother, and even Righteous Rebellion had a volume limit. I took the forms. The first signature was Mr. Morrison's. He uncapped his pen, then paused, letting the nib hover over the paper. "Last chance, write the self-reflection. Apologize to Madison and Tyler. I can still persuade Dean Hayes to treat this as a misunderstanding." Madison made a tiny sound from her desk, a perfect little broken note. In the last life, that sound would have dragged me like a hook through the ribs. I would have started apologizing before I knew what crime I was admitting to. This time, I saw the hook. That made it less romantic. "I have a trade," I said. Mr. Morrison narrowed his eyes. "What trade?" "If you apologize to my mother for accusing me without checking the message, I might consider staying long enough to win the Physics Olympiad slot for homeroom 204. Ms. Parker, the physics teacher, had walked in during that last sentence. She stopped near the door with a stack of papers under her arm, eyes moving from my face to the form. For a second, she looked honestly startled. That was the first teacher face all day that did not make me want to ask where they kept the school blindfolds. "Logan," Ms. Parker said, You are transferring? Trying to. But the Olympiad recommendation list is due soon. Your scores are... She stopped, maybe realizing the room did not need another adult accidentally confessing what Westbridge High was about to lose. Mr. Morrison heard it anyway. His hand tightened around the pen. I turned back to him. One apology. Very simple. You can say, Mrs. Miller, I set aside facts, and that was embarrassing for me as an educator. I can even accept a shorter version. The class made another low noise. Mr. Morrison signed so hard the paper dented. There, he said. Since you are determined to go, go. Early payoff, stamped in black ink. He thought he was dismissing me. He had just made my exit official. I took the form from his hand. Thank you, teacher. I knew we could solve this peacefully. Ms. Parker followed us into the hallway and tried to slow the fall with one reasonable sentence. Logan, transferring this close to exams is risky. If this is only anger, wait one day. Reasonable advice. Terrible timing. If this were only anger, I would, I said. But Mr. Morrison asked me to sign a lie. Dean Hayes threatened my file because his son was involved. If I stay, I am not studying under teachers. I am negotiating with people who can change facts when facts make them uncomfortable. Ms. Parker looked at the form, then toward the classroom door. Dean Hayes' son! I said nothing. She understood anyway. Brookfield High has good teachers too, she said quietly. Keep your physics stable. And do not waste your talent just to prove a point. That one hit closer than I liked. In a last life, I had wasted time, sleep, pride, and the kind of belief parents did not get back once a school taught them to doubt their own child. I nodded. I am leaving to stop wasting it. Mrs. Miller tightened her grip on her handbag. Then we finished the forms. The great office tried one last round of official theater. Dean Hayes sat behind his desk like he had personally invented consequences, while Principal Bennett read my transfer application with the expression of a man discovering a crack in his clean wall and blaming the crack for existing. Logan Miller, Principal Bennett said, your academic record is strong. Your conduct record was also clean before today. Before today? I repeated. Very educational phrase. Dean Hayes tapped the form. Your attitude is the issue. My attitude did not call Madison downstairs, ask me to fight Tyler, or threaten my file when I refused to lie. Principal Bennett looked at my mother. A transfer will affect review materials, teacher recommendations, and contest support. Translation, we own several gates and would like you to remember that. My mother heard the hidden cost first, parents always did. I stepped half a pace forward. Then correct the accusation. Mr. Morrison apologizes to my mother. Westbridge High states in writing that I did not beat Tyler, did not harass Madison, and did not need discipline. Then we can discuss whether I stay. Dean Hayes laughed once. You want the school to apologize to a student? No, I said. To a mother you tried to scare with a fake record. That was when the joke stopped. Principal Bennett closed the folder. Dean Hayes, sign the application. Dean Hayes stared at him. Principal Bennett, if the family insists, we cannot force him to remain. Westbridge High did not apologize, correct the rumor, or promise to clean my name. It only signed fast enough to push the scene out of its building before more people noticed the smoke. Dean Hayes signed. Principal Bennett signed after him. I took the form back and checked each signature carefully. Dean Hayes snorted. Do you think we would cheat you on a form? No, I said. I think you would set aside facts, so I am developing healthy habits. Principal Bennett looked like he had swallowed a lemon seed and found out it had tenure. We were almost out when Dean Hayes spoke again. Brookfield High will not protect you from your temper, Logan. Without Westbridge High's platform, you may find out what you really are. I stopped at the door. In the old life, a dean's voice had sounded like the future. Now it sounded like Tyler in a suit. Dean Hayes, I said, if your son had my temper, he would have taken responsibility by now. Then I left before my mother could decide whether to scold me or secretly enjoy it. The signature chain should have taken a day. It took 1 hour because Westbridge High suddenly discovered efficiency. Nothing moved faster than an institution disposing of a problem it had created. By lunch, the class knew I was leaving. I came back to clear my desk, and everyone pretended not to watch while absolutely watching. The room had that funeral mood students created when drama became real enough to affect seating arrangements. Ryan stood beside my desk with a notebook in his hands. I prepared something, he said solemnly. I looked at the notebook. Is that a goodbye letter? No, the last 3 physics problems you solved yesterday. I need closure, Ryan. You cannot abandon me with Mr. Morrison and a blank workbook. There are laws. Name one, the law of friendship. That law does not apply to copying homework. Ryan thought about it. Then, the law of community service. I laughed despite myself and took the notebook. I wrote the method for the 3 problems, shorter than usual. Ryan leaned over my shoulder like I was drafting a will. Are you really going to Brookfield High? He asked, quieter. Yes. People are saying you got kicked out. People can say what they want. Madison is crying again. Hydration is important. Ryan gave me a look. You were scary when you were calm. I was scarier when I was stupid. He did not understand that line, but I did. The old me had been loud, loyal, and extremely convenient to manipulate. Calm Logan was new. Calm Logan had forms, screenshots, and a mother who knew the truth. I finished the last problem and tore out the page. Ryan tucked it into his book like sacred scripture. For what it is worth, I do not think you were wrong. That was Ryan's version of an emotional speech. Efficient, slightly damp from homework dependence, but sincere. Thanks, I said. He leaned closer. Also, if Westbridge High starts acting weird about you, I will message you. Why? Because I love gossip, and you are my most valuable gossip investment. There it is. Ryan grinned. Friendship. I packed my books. Madison stood up when I reached the door. The class went quiet so fast it was almost embarrassing. Everyone wanted the breakup scene, preferably with subtitles. Logan, Madison said. Her voice shook. She walked toward me with both hands clenched around her phone. Her eyes were red, but this time I could see the calculation under the tears. She needed one last version where she had tried, where she remained kind, where whatever happened next was my fault because I refused her softness. She stopped in the hallway, just outside the classroom door. Can we talk? Mrs. Miller was waiting farther down the hall, giving me space but not leaving me alone. I appreciated that more than I knew how to say. I looked at Madison. Talk. Madison's lashes trembled. I am sorry, I really did not mean for it to become this big. I was scared. Tyler was angry, and I thought if you helped me, everything would calm down. By helped you, you mean took the blame. She glanced toward the classroom, where 20 faces were failing at pretending not to listen. I knew you cared about me. The knife came with a ribbon on it. For a second, I did not see the hallway. I saw the old life. Madison in a graduation dress, smiling beside Tyler. My parents' tired faces after another school meeting. My own hands after the fight, bruised and useless, holding a future that had already cracked. I had wanted her to choose me so badly that I had volunteered to become disposable. That memory was humiliating. It was also useful. Pain made an excellent highlighter. Madison, I said, you were never scared I would get hurt. You were scared I would stop being useful. Her face went pale. That is not true. Then why did you ask me to apologize after you saw Tyler provoke me? She opened her mouth, then closed it. Good. Silence. Finally, a language she could speak honestly. I took out my phone. Her contact name still sat there from the old habit, soft and familiar. I deleted it in front of her. Madison's eyes widened. Logan, don't. I already did. We can still be friends. No. Friends do not need me to bleed so their reputation stays pretty. She flinched, and for a second I almost felt cruel. Then I remembered my mother's face in that office. The pathetic part, I said, quieter, is that if you keep choosing Tyler's protection over the truth, you will end up beside him and call it fate. She stared at me like I had cursed her. Maybe I had. Or maybe I was only reading the ending from a book I had already survived. I turned away before she could cry herself into another courtroom. Behind me, Ryan whispered, that was brutal. I did not look back. Write it down. It might be on the exam. The last thing I did before leaving Westbridge High was return my borrowed classroom key to Mr. Morrison's desk. He was in the office, pretending to grade papers. He did not look up. You will regret this, he said. Probably, I said. I regret lots of things. That is why I am improving. He finally lifted his eyes. Brookfield High will not turn you into a hero. I do not need a school to turn me into anything. That line sounded arrogant even to me, but sometimes arrogance was just confidence said, near people who preferred you smaller. Mrs. Miller and I walked out through the front gate together. She did not ask me again if I was sure. She only waited until we were outside before she said, Logan, tell me honestly, can Brookfield High accept you this late? Yes. How? They have empty seats, my grades are good, and Westbridge High just signed the forms quickly enough to make themselves look suspicious. She gave me a tired look. That is not a complete plan. It is a very handsome outline. Logan? So I stopped joking. Mom, I know I scared you today. I know transferring now is risky, but staying there is riskier, If I sign a false confession once, every adult in that building learns I can be pushed. I cannot take the SAT with my throat under their shoe. She looked away toward the school gate. For a while she said nothing. Then she nodded. Then we go to Brookfield High. That was the moment Westbridge High truly lost. My mother chose my truth over their reputation. The transfer paperwork took the rest of the afternoon. Brookfield High was not glamorous. The building was older, the gate paint was chipped, and the campus did not have Westbridge High's clean demonstration school shine. I liked it immediately. Places that looked perfect had started making me nervous. That evening, after dinner, I opened my laptop and logged into the forum for Exit Pass. The story had been my secret side life for months. A ridiculous one, if you asked most teachers. A student writing serialized fiction before the SAT? Criminal behavior. Clearly, the next step was stealing chalk and forming a gang. But the comments were real. When I posted a short hiatus note, the replies came faster than I expected. One reader wrote that if the author vanished before the next chapter, they would personally fail all their mock exams in protest. Another asked whether I had been kidnapped by homework. A third wrote, "Author, do simple things repeatedly. Update, eat, sleep. Update." I stared at that one for a long time. Do simple things repeatedly. In the last life, I had made everything complicated. Love, loyalty, rage, pride. I had treated every insult like a fire and every tear like an emergency siren. This time, the simple things mattered. Do not fight Tyler. Do not sign lies. Do not let Madison hold the steering wheel. Study, write, protect my parents, find Emma before the world buried her under other people's noise. I typed one line under the hiatus notice. The author is transferring schools. Updates will resume when the author survives the seating chart. The comments exploded. Ryan messaged me 10 seconds later. Ryan Brooks messaged, "Author? Wait, are you saying you were the author?" I stared at the screen. I messaged, "Ryan, you were supposed to admire the sentence structure." Ryan Brooks messaged, "Bro." I messaged, "Keep this quiet." Ryan Brooks messaged, "Define quiet." I messaged, "The opposite of you." Ryan Brooks messaged, "Hurtful, accurate, fine." I closed the laptop smiling. The next morning, Mrs. Miller adjusted my collar at the door like I was 6 years old and heading to school with a lunchbox. I let her. Some humiliations were love in a cheap disguise. Brookfield High's homeroom teacher, Ms. Anderson, met us near the office. She was brisk, sharp-eyed, and did not perform the tragic sigh adults use when a transfer student arrived with rumors attached. She checked my file, checked my mother, then checked me. "Logan Miller," she said. "Your previous school noted a conflict with classmates." "Very generous of them," I said. "They set aside many facts to reach that sentence." Ms. Anderson's mouth twitched. My mother shot me a warning look, but it had less panic in it than yesterday. "Progress." Ms. Anderson closed the folder. "Your grades are strong. Your conduct note is vague. I will judge you by what you do in my classroom." I almost applauded. Instead, I nodded. "That is fair." She led me toward the senior class corridor. The noise inside her classroom spilled through the door before we reached it. New school, same student species, curiosity, gossip, panic over exams, and at least one person laughing too loudly at a joke that was probably not that good. Ms. Anderson put her hand on the door. "There is an open desk in the third row," she said. "You can start there." I looked through the narrow window in the door. And there she was. Emma Blake sat by the window, glasses low on her nose, writing in a notebook with the careful focus of someone trying not to occupy too much air. In the last life, she had been a quiet name I noticed too late. People mocked her for being dull because she did not perform. After graduation, she turned out to have more depth, money, talent, and patience than half the school combined. More importantly, she had never once used me as a shield. Ms. Anderson opened the door. The class turned. I stepped into Brookfield High with my transfer form still warm from yesterday's signatures and asked the first useful question of my new life. "Teacher, can I sit next to Emma Blake?" Ms. Anderson looked from me to the seating chart, then from the seating chart to the very quiet girl by the window. Emma Blake looked up too. Her eyes widened behind her glasses, which was understandable. A transfer student had just walked into class with a rumor cloud over his head and immediately requested the seat beside her like he was choosing a limited edition prize. Subtle, low-key, practically invisible. The class was not subtle either. Chairs creaked. Pens stopped moving. Someone near the back whispered, "He knows Emma?" Another student whispered back, "Maybe he transferred for her." That was fast. Brookfield High gossip had better reflexes than Westbridge High discipline. Ms. Anderson cleared her throat. "Logan Miller, do you know Emma?" "I know of her," I said. That sounded suspicious because it was suspicious. I could hardly say, in my last life, I failed to notice that the quiet girl beside the window was one of the few people in this age group with actual character, so I am correcting the universe's seating arrangement. Even I knew when to edit. Ms. Anderson studied my face. "Emma, is the seat beside you open?" Emma glanced at the empty desk, then at me, then back down at her notebook. "Yes, teacher." Her voice was soft enough that the room leaned in to hear it. "Then sit there," Ms. Anderson said to me. "But before that, introduce yourself." I walked to the front. The class had already built a version of me before I opened my mouth. Transfer from Westbridge High, conflict with classmates, rumor of a fight, possibly a simp, possibly expelled, possibly all of the above with bonus content. I gave them my most harmless smile. Hello everyone, I am Logan Miller. My grades are average, my character is excellent, and I absolutely never fight. For half a second, the room froze. Then laughter broke out. Ms. Anderson pressed her lips together, clearly trying not to reward me on my first day. Average grades? Average for my future standards. And the part about never fighting? A personal development goal. This time, even Ms. Anderson's eyes curved. Good. First rule of surviving a rumor: do not let the rumor decide your posture. If they expected shame, give them shamelessness. If they expected violence, give them a greeting card smile and make them wonder whether the violence had been outsourced. Ms. Anderson pointed toward Emma's row. Sit down. And Logan? Yes, teacher? In this class, jokes do not replace homework. Understood. I will use them as supplemental material. The class laughed again. I carried my bag to the window seat. Emma quietly moved her books closer to her side, not in a rude way, more like someone making sure I had enough room without requiring a conversation about it. That tiny movement told me more than a welcome speech would have. Thank you, Miss Blake, I said softly as I sat. She blinked. Miss Blake, respectful address. We are classmates. Then I will use it respectfully, as a classmate. She lowered her head, and I saw the corner of her mouth move. Not quite a smile thinking about applying for permission. Because one school transfer had taught my mouth zero survival skills, I leaned slightly closer and asked, Miss Blake, do you have a boyfriend? Her pen stopped. The nearby desks went quiet in a way that proved the whole class had suddenly developed excellent hearing. Emma stood up with her notebook pressed to her chest. I need to ask Ms. Anderson about question 5. We have not opened the book yet. Then, question 6. She escaped to the lectern before I could make it worse. On my first morning at Brookfield High, I had already made my new deskmate flee without leaving my chair. Personal development goal number 2, become less alarming. The next period was self-study, which meant 40 seniors pretended to work while tracking every breath the new transfer took. The class monitor turned around first. Owen Fisher, did you really transfer because you fought over a girl? No, I said. Westbridge High discovered my character was too excellent for their storage capacity. Someone choked on a laugh. Across the aisle, Chloe Harper leaned on her elbow. English class representative, social weather system, and, in the old life, one of Madison's little bridges into Brookfield High gossip. Logan Miller, right? Chloe said. I know Madison Cole from elementary school. The past had arrived before lunch. Efficient. Annoying. Condolences, I said. Chloe's eyebrows shot up. Emma's pen paused. Madison told people you liked her a lot, Chloe said. She told the truth once. Historic day. And now? I opened my notebook. Now I am retired from unpaid bodyguard work. Before Chloe could decide whether to laugh or dig harder, Mason Cooper stood near the back door. He had the shoulders of someone who played basketball like the backboard had personally insulted him. New guy, Mason said. Do not flirt with Chloe on your first day. Every school had a Mason, sometimes truly dangerous, sometimes a walking warning label powered by insecurity and cafeteria protein. The trick was waiting for receipts. I am not flirting, I said. Mason stared. I pointed at my notebook. I am networking. The class exploded. Chloe laughed loudest, which did nothing helpful for Mason's blood pressure. Emma leaned slightly toward me and whispered, Mason might actually hit people. The humor stopped where it needed to. She was not controlling the scene. She was warning me because she thought I might not understand the room yet. I lowered my voice. Then I will not hit back first. That is not very comforting. It is legally thoughtful. She pressed her lips together, almost smiling despite herself. Mason sat down, still watching me. Fine, I had handled Tyler by refusing the old trap. I could handle Mason by refusing to become Tyler with better grades. Ms. Anderson returned with a stack of English reading papers and dropped them on the lectern. Since everyone is so interested in our new classmate, she said, short reading test, 20 minutes, no discussion. I loved teachers like Ms. Anderson. She saw a gossip fire and poured an exam on it. Chloe handed out papers with a smile. Average grades, right? Deeply average. Then I will be gentle when I beat you. Please do. My character is fragile. Emma ignored us and began reading. That was another thing I liked about her. In a classroom full of people trying to become a headline, she lived like a footnote with excellent handwriting. The test was not hard. I had already lived through this year once, and some grammar traps had the cozy smell of a teacher who reused favorite knives. I finished in 8 minutes and spent 5 more pretending to struggle, because walking into a new school and immediately acting like a human answer key lacked diplomacy. When Ms. Anderson collected the papers, Mason looked over. Done already? Westbridge High does tests by guessing? Only on days with good weather. Careful. Brookfield High is not your old school. I noticed. The teachers here read evidence. Ms. Anderson looked up. Logan. Sorry, teacher. Supplemental material. Less supplemental, more quiet. I shut up, mostly. During the break, Ms. Anderson marked fast. Chloe waited near the lectern, badly pretending not to care. Mason sharpened a pencil with hostile commitment. Emma reviewed her answers with one finger on the page. Chloe, 2 wrong, Ms. Anderson said. Good. Emma, 3 wrong. Much better on inference. Then she picked up my paper. Her pen slowed. That was the kind of silence students could smell. Logan. Yes, teacher. How many questions did you think you missed? Quite a few. Ms. Anderson held up the paper. 1. The room snapped toward me. Chloe's smile froze. Mason made a sound that might have been a cough if coughs had enemies. I looked genuinely regretful because I was enjoying myself. Anything less than perfect is failure. The class erupted. Ms. Anderson put my paper on the desk. 98, highest in the class today. Average for future standards, I reminded her. 1 more sentence and I will average your mouth with the hallway. Understood. Emma looked at the paper for one careful second. You are good at English. Her tone was not flattery, it was observation, clean and direct. A little, I said. You said average. I have a flexible relationship with humility. This time she smiled properly. Small, quick, gone almost before I could prove it had existed. That tiny smile gave me a stronger hit than the 98. I was reborn, not made of concrete. By lunch, the rumor had upgraded itself. I was no longer only the Westbridge High transfer who fought over Madison Cole. I was the transfer who denied the fight, insulted Madison's friendship value, irritated Mason, and scored 98 while calling it failure. Messy brand. Real motion. Emma's friend Grace came over with her lunchbox. Emma, everyone is talking about him. Emma looked at me, then back to her. He is sitting here. I know. That is why I lowered my voice. You did not lower it very much, I said. Grace smiled. Then pretend I did. Chloe joined us before the conversation could become peaceful. Logan, do you read Exit Pass? My hand paused over my lunch. The title had followed me through the school gate faster than expected. The author posted a hiatus note last night, Chloe said. Said he transferred schools. Several heads turned. Ryan, wherever he was at Westbridge High, had either kept quiet or defined quiet in the broadest possible way known to mankind. Emma's eyes flicked toward me. You read it? A little. Grace leaned in. Everyone in our class forum was yelling about the hiatus. The writing is really good. The author sounds arrogant, Mason said from behind us. I turned. That is a literary technique. You know him? Very well. Chloe's eyes brightened. Wait, really? Intimately. The table went quiet. Emma blinked. I realized half a second too late that intimately was not the best word to use around a serialized novel and a girl who took language very literally. I coughed once, as in, I understand his creative habits. Grace laughed into her hand. Emma looked down at her lunch, ears faintly pink. I filed that under. Be careful, you idiot. Chloe loved the crack in my composure. Can you ask him to update? The author is recovering from a traumatic seating chart experience. So you do know him. I know many people. I am popular in hidden places, Mason said. Sounds fake. Your skepticism is valuable to the community. Ms. Anderson walked past with her lunch tray and said without slowing down, Logan, if I hear you starting a cult on your first day, I will separate the seating chart. I put one hand over my heart. Teacher, I am promoting literature. Promote it quietly. Yes, teacher. Emma's shoulders shook once. A silent laugh. That was a better review than the forum. The afternoon Chinese period belonged to Mr. Whitman. Mr. Whitman was different from Ms. Anderson. She looked like she could organize chaos into rows. He looked like he had spent years watching students murder essays and had developed patience as a survival organ. He entered with a thermos, a stack of composition books, and the mild expression of a man who could destroy your thesis statement without raising his voice. New student, he said after taking attendance. Logan Miller. I stood. Here, sit. I have seen your file. Strong overall, but Chinese scores from Westbridge High are inconsistent. That was true. In the old life, my Chinese composition had swung like a door in a storm. Sometimes brilliant, sometimes overdramatic, sometimes clearly written by a person who thought commas were emotional support. This time, I had Exit Pass, a reader base, and several months of hard-earned practice turning messy feeling into clean hooks. Mr. Whitman began class with a classical reading passage, then moved into composition structure. I listened for 10 minutes. Then my phone buzzed in my pocket with a forum notification. I should have ignored it. I did not. I kept the phone under the desk, opened a blank draft, and wrote 3 lines for the next Exit Pass chapter. Just 3. A tiny crime. Academic jaywalking. Emma noticed first. She looked at my phone, then at Mr. Whitman, then back at me. Her eyes widened in a silent warning. I slid the phone halfway under my notebook. Too late. Mr. Whitman stopped speaking. Logan Miller. The whole class turned. Again, I was beginning to suspect my low-key plan had structural weaknesses. I stood slowly. Mr. Whitman walked down the aisle and held out his hand. Phone. I gave it to him with the screen still open. In my defense, locking the screen would have looked guiltier. Also in my defense, I had terrible instincts around writing drafts. Mr. Whitman read the 3 lines. His expression changed. Not angry, interested. That was more dangerous. You wrote this? He asked. Yes, teacher. During my class. Also yes, I believe in full confession when the evidence is glowing. The class laughed, but softly. Mr. Whitman did not. He turned the phone face down before the nearest row could lean in. Hallway, he said. I followed him outside. The door closed behind us, cutting off the classroom buzz. Mr. Whitman held my phone between 2 fingers and scrolled just far enough to reach the draft folder header. Exit pass. His eyes lifted to mine. This is yours? Yes. Can you prove it? I took the phone, opened the author dashboard and showed him the back end. Drafts, comments, posting history, all of it. Mr. Whitman's sternness shifted into something like reluctant delight. Your pacing is good, he said. Thank you. Your chapter endings are shameless. Also thank you. Your punctuation occasionally commits crimes. That one felt less like a compliment. He handed the phone back. You are talented, Logan. That does not give you permission to write during class. Understood. And talent in serialized fiction does not automatically mean your exam composition will rank first. I knew where this was going. Teachers loved turning compliments into homework. It was their natural hunting pattern. Mr. Whitman continued, there is a 4-school joint mock exam coming. Westbridge High, Brookfield High, Northgate High, and Fairview Prep. If you can rank first in Chinese for Brookfield High, I will allow you to use spare class time for writing after you complete assigned work. If you cannot, your phone stays with me during Chinese period. Only Brookfield High first? His eyebrow rose. Are you negotiating upward? I am clarifying the size of my cage. Fine, rank first in Chinese across the 4 schools. That was supposed to scare me. It did, a little. The challenge was possible, but public challenges had a way of attracting public failure. In the last life, I had made my future smaller every time I acted on emotion. This risk was connected to skill, not a trap connected to pride. I could accept that. Deal, I said. Mr. Whitman studied me. You are confident. No, teacher. I am trying to do simple things repeatedly. He smiled at that, quick and approving. Then start with putting your phone away. Simple, painful, educational. When we returned to the classroom, the room pretended to be normal and failed at an elite level. Chloe had already written something in her notebook and shoved it toward Grace. Owen was turned halfway around. Mason was staring like I had personally insulted the concept of literacy. As I passed Chloe's desk, she slid one folded scrap of paper toward the edge. Exit pass? I tucked the scrap under my Chinese textbook without answering. Mr. Whitman placed my phone on his desk. Class, he said. Logan Miller will not be writing unrelated material during my lecture again. I nodded obediently. He has also accepted a challenge. That was when I stopped nodding. Mr. Whitman looked at me with teacherly innocence. Betrayal but educational. On the 4-school joint mock exam, Logan will aim for first place in Chinese across all participating schools. If he succeeds, I will permit him to write after completing class assignments. If he fails, his phone will be managed during my period. The classroom absorbed that. Then Owen said, across all 4 schools? Chloe turned to me. You agreed to that? Mason laughed once. First day and already acting like a legend. I sat down beside Emma and opened my Chinese textbook. Emma looked at me with genuine worry. Can you do it? That question did not have mockery in it. It had concern. I wanted to joke. I almost did. But her hand rested near the edge of her notebook, fingers tense, and I remembered her earlier warning about Mason. Emma took other people's danger seriously even when she barely knew them, so I answered plainly. I can try. She nodded, small and solemn. Then, good luck. Thank you, Miss Blake. She glanced down. You still call me that, respectfully. It sounds strange. I can stop if you dislike it. She thought about it for a second. I did not say I dislike it. My brain, which had handled administrative threats, public rumors, and a 4-school exam challenge with reasonable function, briefly lost all professional discipline. Chloe saw my face and whispered from across the aisle. Oh, he is done. I heard that, I said. Good, Chloe said. It was for you, Mason muttered. Ridiculous. Maybe it was. By the end of that first day, Brookfield High had not accepted me exactly. Acceptance was too warm a word for a room of seniors staring down exams with the emotional stability of over-caffeinated squirrels, but they had updated the file. I was no longer just the transfer from Westbridge High. I was the guy with the suspicious fight rumor, the one wrong English paper, the possible author identity, the seat beside Emma Blake, Chloe Harper's interest, Mason Cooper's irritation, and Mr. Whitman's public challenge sitting on my desk like a live grenade. That was a lot for one day. Low-key was dead. We held a private memorial and moved on. When the final bell rang, Emma packed her books carefully. She moved slower than everyone else, giving the crowd time to leave. I recognized the tactic because I had used versions of it after disciplinary meetings in the old life. Sometimes you did not wait because you were slow. You waited because attention hurt. I did not rush her. Grace left with Chloe, though Chloe glanced back twice. Mason left with 2 boys from the back row, bumping one desk hard enough to make a point. Subtle work from a subtle man. When the room was nearly empty, Emma looked at me. Logan. It was the first time she said my name. Ridiculous how much that mattered. Yes? If Mason bothers you, you can tell Ms. Anderson. I smiled. You trust teachers? Emma adjusted her glasses. Some teachers. That answer was more mature than most speeches. I will remember that, I said. She hesitated. And the novel, I read it. I kept my voice light because her courage was obviously costing her. Then I can apologize to the author for his punctuation crimes. I like it, she said. 3 quiet words from Emma did more damage to my composure than Mason's entire warning label. For a second, the room softened around the edges. I will tell him, I said. Plain language, no joke, no joke. Some moments were better without decoration. Emma nodded quickly and picked up her bag. At the doorway, she stopped. First in Chinese across 4 schools is difficult. Very. Then do simple things repeatedly. She left before I could answer. I sat there for another breath, looking at the empty doorway. The line had come from a forum comment the night before. I had said it to Mr. Whitman in the hallway. Now Emma had thrown it back to me like a tiny borrowed promise. Brookfield High was already more dangerous than Westbridge High in one specific way. Here, people could still surprise me for the better. My phone buzzed on Mr. Whitman's desk, where he had forgotten to return it for exactly 30 dramatic seconds. The screen lit with a message from Ryan. Ryan Brooks messaged, Update. Westbridge High is saying you begged to leave because you could not handle discipline. I looked at the message, then at the Chinese textbook in front of me, then at the seat Emma had just left. Westbridge High had started writing its version. Fine. I had a novel audience, a new classroom, a 4-school exam, and one very quiet girl who had just told me to do simple things repeatedly. Let them talk. This time, I could answer with scores. Westbridge High found out the author they were praising was the student they had thrown away before the second morning bell. Ryan sent me the screenshots while Ms. Anderson's class was still pretending self-study meant studying by yourself. In the first screenshot, the city education account had shared Exit Pass as a bright example of student writing. In the second, Westbridge High's school forum had reposted it with a caption so proud it probably needed its own chair. Then came the third screenshot. Post deleted. Under it, Ryan had typed 5 words. Ryan Brooks messaged, They realized it was you. That was efficient. Yesterday I had been a discipline problem who could not handle pressure. This morning I had become student literary talent for approximately 9 minutes, then vanished from Westbridge High's memory like an inconvenient typo. Ryan kept sending messages. Ryan Brooks messaged, Morrison pulled Madison out. She told him you wrote it. Ryan Brooks messaged. He said the school should verify whether it was copied. Ryan Brooks messaged, translation, panic. I stared at the screen and almost laughed. Of course Madison knew. Months ago, back when I still thought being useful was the same as being loved, I had shown her a chapter draft. She had called it kind of interesting, and then asked whether I could help her with math. Truly, romance had been thriving. Historians would study us and give up. Now Westbridge High wanted the praise without the student. That was a familiar shape. They liked my grades when they improved their reputation, liked my writing when it looked like theirs, and hated my mouth whenever it asked who had actually done the work. Chloe Harper slid into the seat across from me before I could put my phone away. She did not ask permission. Chloe treated empty chairs like political openings. Exit pass? She said softly. She had written the same question on a scrap of paper after Mr. Whitman caught my phone. Now she said it out loud with her eyes bright and dangerous. Emma, beside me, paused over her notebook. That pause settled the decision. I could let Chloe corner me first. I could let Westbridge High delete, rename, or twist the story before I chose who heard the truth. Or I could do one simple thing before the room did what rooms always did. I looked at Chloe. After second period. That sounds like a yes? That sounds like after second period. Chloe smiled. You are very annoying. Strong review. Please post it under my novel. Emma's pen moved again, but slower. That was my warning. If I let Emma hear the truth from Chloe, I would become the exact kind of person I disliked, someone who used silence because it was convenient. After second period, I asked Emma to walk with me to the stairwell near the music room. It was quiet there, mostly because seniors avoided stairs whenever exams had already climbed on their backs. Emma held her notebook against her chest. Is this about the novel? Yes. She looked down. Then you know the author? I am the author. Her fingers tightened on the notebook. I opened my phone and showed her the dashboard, drafts, comments, posting history, the whole embarrassing backstage where my chapter titles went to fight for their lives. Emma stared at it for a long second. You said you would tell him, she said. I did. That was a cheap trick. That tiny word hurt more than a paragraph. No drama, no accusation, just a small sound of trust bumping into a wall. I put the phone away. I should have told you before I joked around it. She looked at me then. Why are you telling me now? Because Chloe suspects. Westbridge High knows enough to start deleting things. If you hear it from somebody else, it turns into gossip before it turns into truth. Emma was quiet, so I gave her the part a normal person could understand and kept the rebirth where it belonged, buried behind my teeth. At Westbridge High, Madison asked me to help because Tyler was bothering her. When Tyler tried to bait me, I walked away. She lied in the office. Mr. Morrison asked me to apologize anyway, and Dean Hayes protected Tyler because Tyler is his son. They wanted me to write a self-reflection for something I did not do. Emma's face changed slowly, like she was putting the hallway rumors beside the person standing in front of her and deciding which one had evidence. So you transferred, she said. Yes. And Westbridge High is saying you could not handle discipline. Ryan just told me. Emma looked toward the stairwell window. Her voice was soft but clear. That is unfair. She gave no speech and no dramatic gasp. She simply named the correct answer. I had spent years in the old life wanting one person to say that while it still mattered. It is, I said. What will you do? I showed her the saved screenshots from Ryan. Post the deleted praise on Brookfield High's forum with my author account, timestamps, original link, deletion record, and proof that I am the author. Clean facts. Will that make Westbridge High angry? Probably. Will it make people stare at you more? Definitely. Emma adjusted her glasses. Then why tell me before posting? That question had teeth. Soft teeth, but still. I answered plainly because a joke would have been cowardice. Because you told me you liked the novel before you knew it was mine. I wanted you to know before the class started treating you like a clue. She lowered her eyes. For a second, I thought I had made it worse. Then she said, I am not good at being treated like a clue. I noticed. But I can keep a secret for a little while. Hope showed up wearing glasses and holding a notebook like a shield. Thank you, Miss Blake. She glanced up. Are you still going to call me that when everyone knows? Especially then. Her mouth moved into the smallest smile. Strange. Consistent. Mr. Whitman checked my post before I sent it, which was not my natural instinct, but showed growth in the area of not detonating school politics during lunch. He read the draft, adjusted his glasses, and said, remove the line about Westbridge High being allergic to facts. It was accurate. It was also gasoline. Educational gasoline. Logan. I removed it. The final post was boring by my personal standards, which meant it was probably responsible. I attached the education account praise, the deleted Westbridge High repost, my Exit Pass author dashboard with private data covered, and a short note, Exit Pass has transferred to Brookfield High. Thank you to readers who waded through the seating chart. The Brookfield High forum lasted 3 minutes before turning into a marketplace of yelling. Grace found out first and physically turned in her seat to stare at me. Owen Fisher whispered, No way! With the reverence of a man witnessing a rumor hatch into a dragon. Chloe leaned back with a look that said she hated being right only because she had not been first to announce it. Mason Cooper read the post from the back row and muttered, Ridiculous. That was becoming his personal brand statement. Emma did not look surprised. She kept writing, but her ears were pink. That mattered more than the forum. The early payoff came faster than Westbridge High expected. Their deleted post did not erase me. It gave me a cleaner screenshot. By lunch, Brookfield High knew 3 things. Westbridge High had lost the Exit Pass author, Westbridge High had tried to delete the evidence, and the author now sat beside the quiet girl by the window. The first 2 facts made me interesting. The third made Emma a target. It happened during PE because humiliation loved witnesses, and PE provided them in bulk. We were on the side court after a light shuttle run, which for final year students meant 10 minutes of pretending our bodies had not been replaced by exam paper. Emma came in near the back, cheeks flushed, glasses slipping slightly. Public sweating was not her natural arena, and the class treated that like a moral defect. I bought 2 bottles of water from the vending machine and placed one on her desk when we returned. Hydration, I said. Very advanced sports science. Emma took it with both hands. Thank you. Across the aisle, Paige Lawson watched the exchange and whispered loudly enough to apply for broadcasting rights. The author buys Emma water now? What is this, a flower stuck in manure? The room went thin. Chloe, standing beside Paige, made a small laugh that died halfway through. Grace looked at Emma immediately. Emma froze with the bottle cap half open. That was where humor stopped. I could take gossip about me. I had been called a simp, problem student, fake author, and several phrases Ryan would have charged admission to repeat. But Emma had not asked for any of this. She had warned me about Mason. She had trusted me with a secret. She had done nothing except sit beside me and accept water. I stood. Paige's smile faded. Say it again, I said. She swallowed. I was joking. Then write the joke down. I want to see whether it gets funnier when you have to sign your name. Chloe stepped forward. Logan, she did not mean it like that. You laughed. Chloe's face changed. Both of you, I said. One apology note to Emma before evening self-study. Handwritten. Spare us the performance and the cute excuses. If you can turn her into class entertainment, you can use the same literacy skills to fix it. Paige went red. Who are you to order us? The person who will take this to Ms. Anderson with the exact sentence and the witnesses if you prefer adult supervision. Emma whispered, Logan. I looked at her, and my voice softened. You do not have to accept the notes if you do not want them. The hurt sat quietly in her eyes, which made every joke in the room look cheap. Paige looked away. Chloe's eyes reddened first, which would have been funny in another universe. She had not taken the hit, but she hated being seen as cruel. Different wound. Still useful. Fine, Chloe said, voice shaking. I will write it. Mason appeared in the doorway before the period ended. He saw Chloe's red eyes, saw me standing near Emma's desk, and did the simple math of a man who wanted the answer to be punching. Logan, he said, outside. I am indoors currently. After school. Gate. The room went quiet again. Emma gripped the bottle. Mason pointed at me. You think a test score in a novel make you untouchable? No, I said. I think they make me literate. He stepped closer. Gate. Do not run. There were many things I could have said. Several were excellent. None were worth making Emma cry harder. So I only nodded. After school. Emma turned toward me as soon as Mason left. You can tell Ms. Anderson? I can. Will you? I looked at the doorway where Mason had been. The obvious solution was a teacher report. In a clean world, that would be enough. In our world, it would turn into 3 new rumors before dinner. Emma made Logan complain. Chloe cried because of Emma. Mason was only protecting a classmate. The school would warn him, he would wait off campus, and Emma would become the center of a story she never asked to star in. If I report it now, your name becomes part of it, I said. I do not want that. Then what will you do? Keep my hands clean. She did not look comforted. Fair. That sentence sounded better after results. I texted Ryan during the next break. I messaged, does your cousin still do adult security for school events? Ryan Brooks messaged, depends who is asking, a paying customer or a tragic abandoned physics tutor? I messaged, both. Ryan Brooks messaged, what happened? I messaged, Mason is bringing people to Brookfield High Gate. Ryan Brooks messaged, how many? I messaged, I am hoping 15 to 20. For dignity. Ryan Brooks messaged, you are emotionally unwell. I messaged, can your cousin bring witnesses, cameras, and adults who look expensive to annoy? Ryan Brooks messaged, yes, he says no fighting. I messaged, perfect. Fighting is for people who hate their exam records. The only problem was cash. My money was at home, and Ryan's cousin wanted a call-out fee because adults did not assemble in vans for the honor of my character development. I sat down beside Emma before evening self-study. I need to ask an uncomfortable favor, I said. She looked up immediately. How much? You did not even ask what for. You would not spend embarrassed for homework. That was unfairly accurate. I explained the backup plan. Adult witnesses, no fighting, no touching, no heroic nonsense. Ryan's cousin would bring enough people to make Mason's outside boys rethink their extracurricular program. I needed a small cash loan until I could repay it the next day. Emma listened with both hands folded over her notebook. Will anyone get hurt? She asked. No. Will you hit Mason? No. Will this make him angrier? Briefly. She frowned. And after briefly? Embarrassed. Embarrassment is more educational. Emma opened her bag and took out her wallet. Before she handed me the money, I opened my notes app and wrote a debt record with the amount, purpose, and repayment date. Then I turned the screen to her. Her eyes moved over it. You do not need to write it. I do. Why? Because your money is not magic. It is trust with numbers attached. She stared at me for a second. Then she handed me the bills. Then, repay on time, she said. Yes, Miss Blake. The gate after school looked exactly like a gate after school. Students pouring out, bikes ringing, parents waiting, snack vendors doing better business than most teachers' motivational speeches. Mason waited across the street with 6 boys I did not know. 6. I had prepared emotionally for 15. The disappointment was real. Mason walked toward me with his hands in his pockets. You came. I did. I also wore comfortable shoes because someone promised a dramatic event. One of the outside boys laughed before Mason glared at him. Mason's face darkened. You made Chloe cry. Chloe laughed while Paige insulted Emma. Chloe is writing an apology. This is called a consequence. You think you can order people around? No. I think if people insult my deskmate they can apologize in writing. Very literary. On theme. Mason stepped closer. That was when 2 vans pulled up behind me. Ryan's cousin got out first. I had never met him before, but I respected him instantly because he looked like a man who read contracts and lifted refrigerators for fun. Behind him came a dozen adults in plain jackets, each holding a phone, each old enough to make Mason's outside boys remember they had families who preferred them unrecorded. Ryan's cousin smiled. Which one is the student needing event security? I raised a hand. That would be me. Mason looked from the adults to me. What the hell is this? Community observation, I said. Ryan's cousin turned to Mason's group. Nobody touches anybody. We are recording the gate area because parents asked us to make sure students leave safely. If you are not here to cause trouble, you can keep walking. The outside boys discovered urgent appointments in several directions. It was beautiful, pure administrative oxygen entering a room full of matches. Mason stayed because pride was heavier than common sense. Once his borrowed crowd left, he looked like a student who had overdressed for a bad decision. You called adults, he said. You called outsiders. Coward. Correct. I am cowardly about ruining my SAT future. Very fragile in that area. His jaw tightened. Ryan's cousin looked at him. Student, go home. Mason looked ready to argue, then saw the phones. He turned and walked away. The result was clean. No punches, no injuries, no discipline record. A very loud silence filled the space where his threat used to be. By the next morning, the photos had spread through Brookfield High. They made Mason's outside backup look small and my adult witnesses look extremely boring, which was the whole point. Paige's apology note arrived before first period. It was stiff, nervous, and clearly written by someone who had discovered consequences had handwriting requirements. She apologized for insulting Emma, admitted the joke was cruel, and promised not to repeat it. Chloe's note came after. Hers was shorter. I laughed because I was jealous. That was ugly. I am sorry. Emma read both notes quietly. She did not smile, but her shoulders loosened. Do you accept them? I asked. She folded the notes and put them into her notebook. I accept that they wrote them. She had accepted the paperwork, not the performance. Good for her. The Brookfield High Forum pinned my exit pass repost under the literature discussion board by noon. Mr. Whitman pretended he had nothing to do with that, which meant he absolutely had something to do with that. Mason's circle gave me space in the hallway. Chloe stopped flirting for one whole morning, a restraint that probably counted as community service. And Emma, who had been dragged into attention because I sat beside her, looked at the pinned post, the apology notes, and the empty space Mason's friends now left around us. You told me first, she said during lunch. I did, and you did not say I was part of the post. You are not a prop. She looked down at her water bottle. People keep looking. I know, but it feels different from yesterday. Better or worse, Emma thought about it carefully. Less lonely. I had no joke for that. Mr. Whitman saved me from having to find one by stopping beside our desks with a stack of mock exam notices. Logan, he said, enjoy your fame today. Tomorrow the joint mock schedule begins. Chloe, done with her morning of restraint, turned around. The 4-school one? Mr. Whitman nodded. Westbridge High, Brookfield High, Northgate High, and Fairview Prep, Chinese composition included. Mason, at the back, looked up despite himself. Emma's hand tightened around her pen. Mr. Whitman smiled at me in the cruel way only teachers could manage. You wanted to do simple things repeatedly. Start with an exam. The post they deleted had made me famous. Now the score sheet had to make it expensive. The morning after Mason tried to outsource his courage, Ms. Anderson called both of us into the hallway. Mason arrived with his jaw set and his hands in his pockets. I arrived with a notebook, a pen, and the peaceful expression of a student who had technically not punched anyone. Growth looked good on me, very scholarly. Ms. Anderson looked from Mason to me. Explain. Teacher, I said, Mason and I are best buds. Mason's head snapped toward me. No, we are not. See, comfortable honesty, very strong foundation. Ms. Anderson closed her eyes for 1 second. She did that often around me. I was becoming part of her cardio. Logan! No fight happened, I said. No one was hurt. Some adults stood near the gate and recorded the area. Mason went home. Mason muttered, "You brought a crowd. You brought one first." Ms. Anderson's gaze sharpened. Mason. He looked away. That gave Ms. Anderson enough to work with. She knew how student lies smelled before breakfast. Ms. Anderson lowered her voice. "If either of you turns my class into an off-campus fight club, I will make sure your parents learn every detail before you can rewrite it." Understood, Mason said. Logan? Teacher, I am deeply committed to boring exits. You are committed to making me retire early. Also possible. Her mouth twitched, but only for a second. Then she looked at Mason again. This ends now. If there is a problem, you come to me. If I hear about outside students at the gate again, I will not care whose pride started it. Mason nodded once. I did too. Then Ms. Anderson kept me back while Mason returned to class. Truth, she said. So I gave her the clean version. Paige's insult, Chloe's apology note, Mason's threat, the adults at the gate, no touching, no injuries. I left Emma's fear out of it as much as I could because Emma had not volunteered to become a school incident report. Miss Anderson listened without interrupting. When I finished, she said, "You handled the physical danger without fighting. Good, thank you. You also created a public spectacle, a peaceful public spectacle. Logan, a medium-sized peaceful public spectacle." She sighed. "I am watching you closely. That makes 2 schools. The difference is that I read evidence." That shut me up. Fair hit, clean technique. By the time I sat down, Emma was looking at me with quiet concern. "Best buds," she whispered. "Working title?" Mason heard from the back and made a sound like he had swallowed a staple. The first reward of the day was small, but satisfying. Mason did not threaten me, Chloe did not perform, and Paige looked at Emma's desk like the apology note might explode if she insulted it again. Then Westbridge High got involved. Ryan messaged me during the break between English and math. Ryan Brooks messaged, "Morrison bought me breakfast." I messaged, "Was it poisoned?" Ryan Brooks messaged, "Spiritually, yes." Ryan Brooks messaged, "Spiritually, yes." Ryan Brooks messaged, "Also he gave me $60. I stared at the message. I messaged Ryan. Ryan Brooks messaged, "Before you judge, I accepted it for evidence preservation and snack justice." I messaged, "What did he want?" Ryan Brooks messaged, "He wants me to tell you, Westbridge High can clarify your discipline note if you stop posting about the deleted exit pass thing and let the school say the novel was developed while you were here." Ryan Brooks messaged, "Also Madison is supposed to message you. I think she is the emotional packaging." Right on schedule, a friend request appeared from Madison Cole. Her message preview floated on the screen. Madison Cole messaged, "Logan, can we talk? Mr. Morrison said this is important for both schools. I do not want things to get worse." There she was, still trying to put perfume on a threat. I did not accept the friend request. I screenshotted it. I messaged, "Ryan, did you keep the money?" Ryan Brooks messaged, "Obviously. I am corrupt, not wasteful." I messaged, "Send photos of the envelope and the message." Ryan Brooks messaged, "Already did. Friendship includes file management." The screenshots arrived clean. Morrison's office desk, a folded envelope, Ryan's thumb in frame because, of course, Ryan's thumb wanted credit, and Morrison's message telling him to help guide Logan back to a cooperative attitude. $60. That was the price of Westbridge High's dignity in the morning market. I sent the files to my private folder and forced myself not to detonate them before lunch. Evidence did not expire if stored properly. My mock exam unfortunately did. Good teacher. Annoying, correct. The joint mock began the next day. 4 schools, shared papers, swapped proctors, and enough nervous energy to power the city lights if anyone could wire teenage dread safely. The moment I saw the answer sheet, the jokes thinned out. In the old life, exams had become a punishment chamber after the fight. I remembered sitting with a warning on my record, teachers treating me like a risk, my parents pretending not to worry at dinner, and my own brain refusing to stay still long enough to solve questions I knew how to solve. That memory did not vanish just because I had better lines now. The paper smelled like ink and cheap printing glue. My fingers rested on the desk. Clean hands, clean record, new school. Do simple things repeatedly. Read the question, find the trap, write the answer. The first subject passed without drama, which was exactly how exams should pass if adults would stop making teenagers perform emotional circus tricks around them. Then came Chinese. Before we entered the exam room, Grace whispered that everyone was panicking about composition themes. Chloe had 3 example essays memorized and the expression of someone who would personally sue the paper if none appeared. Emma had her outline notebook open, neat and quiet. I looked over the corridor crowd and lowered my voice. Review environmental governance, youth responsibility, and community rules, I said. Owen Fisher blinked. Why those? Because if the paper asks about celebrity gossip, we are all doomed anyway. Chloe narrowed her eyes. Is this author instinct? No, it is student survival instinct. Emma looked at her notebook, then calmly added 2 lines under a heading. You believe him? Chloe asked her. Emma did not look up. He is often strange, not usually random. That might have been the best review of my personality so far. The Chinese paper landed close enough to make the corridor whisper come back like a debt collector. The composition prompt asked about young people, public responsibility, and building a livable community. The match was close enough to make every whispered doubt turn around and stare at me. Future memory worked like a flashlight with low battery. If I pointed it at the right wall, I still had to walk. I wrote carefully. For once, exit pass felt less like a distraction and more like training. The essay had a hook, a spine, and only a few commas for Mr. Whitman to mourn. I turned in early. Dean Hayes was one of the rotating Westbridge High administrators watching the hallway outside the exam rooms. Interschool proctoring was supposed to build fairness. In practice, it gave adults a chance to exchange polite smiles while silently ranking each other's students. He saw me come out and frowned. Already finished? Yes, Dean Hayes. Confidence is not the same as ability. I agree. That is why I wrote answers. His eyes cooled. Westbridge High students are still inside. Good. They deserve enough time. I walked past him, then stopped like I had remembered something. Dean Hayes? He looked over. If the education office asks for updates on exit pass, do you want me to say the author could not handle discipline or the author could not handle deletion? For 1 second, his face lost its administrator polish. Then it came back, thinner. You should worry about your score. I am. That was the difference now. In the old life, I had worried like fear was a plan. This time, I worried by writing the paper. Ryan's message arrived after the last exam of the day. Ryan Brooks messaged, Westbridge High announced an emergency campus writing contest. Ryan Brooks messaged, theme, real literary talent begins with moral character. Ryan Brooks messaged, bro, they invented a contest to subtweet you. I messaged, I am honored. Ryan Brooks messaged, Morrison said copied internet novels have no exam value. I messaged, tell him punctuation crimes still count as literature. Ryan Brooks messaged, can I keep the $60 if this becomes evidence? I messaged, you can keep it as emotional damages. Ryan Brooks messaged, finally justice. The score sheets posted 2 days later. Brookfield High announced them loudly. Schools loved humility until a ranking made them look good. Then humility went outside to get snacks. Ms. Anderson walked into class with the printed list, Mr. Whitman beside her, and a Brookfield High administrator standing at the door like he had come to inspect a miracle and hoped it was wearing the correct uniform. The classroom went silent. Ms. Anderson's eyes found mine. Logan Miller. Present and emotionally prepared. No, you are not, she said. That was rude. Accurate, but rude. Mr. Whitman took the list from her before I could ruin the mood. Chinese composition and total Chinese score, he said. First across all 4 schools. The room erupted. Chloe stood halfway out of her seat. Across all 4? Across all 4, Mr. Whitman repeated. Mason stared at me from the back like I had personally betrayed the natural order. Emma turned toward me slowly, eyes wide behind her glasses. I tried to look modest. I failed in a dignified direction. Mr. Whitman continued. English tied for the highest score group. Mathematics, top group. Science comprehensive. He paused. Ah, the human section. Science comprehensive is solid, but not at the same level. Some students laughed, not cruelly. More like relief. The beast had a weak spot. Thank goodness. The villagers could sleep. I nodded seriously. I appreciate proof that I remain mortal. Ms. Anderson looked at the list. Overall, first in Brookfield High and top tier across the 4 schools. That was the line that changed the room. English made me interesting. Exit pass made me noisy. The gate incident made me inconvenient. This made me valuable. Brookfield High's first-place student in the joint mock had transferred from Westbridge High 2 days after Westbridge High called him a discipline problem. Somewhere, I hoped Mr. Morrison was having a refreshing glass of consequences. Emma slid her own score sheet toward me during the chaos. Her grades were steadier than she gave herself credit for. Strong English, solid Chinese, careful math, science needing work but not disaster. You did well, I said. She shook her head. Not like you. Good. If everyone were like me, Ms. Anderson would resign. Emma's mouth curved. Maybe. Your composition improved, I said, pointing to the score. She looked down. I used the community examples. Miss Blake, that is called tactical trust. It is called revision, also tactical trust. It is called revision. Also tactical, Chloe leaned over before Emma could hide the paper. Next time, I am beating you in English. Me? Emma asked. Both of you, Chloe said, then pointed at me. Especially him. Healthy competition, I said. Terrifying from you, but healthy. Mason muttered from the back. First in Chinese does not mean you can fight. I turned. Correct. That is why you and I are best buds. The class laughed so hard Mason's ears went red. Ms. Anderson tapped the lectern. Enough! Logan, Mason, if I hear that phrase one more time before lunch, I am separating both of you from the concept of free speech. Teacher, I said, that sounds unconstitutional. Try me. I closed my mouth before my survival instincts filed another complaint. The ranking did not stay inside Brookfield High. Ryan sent me Westbridge High's reaction before dinner. Ryan Brooks messaged, your score sheet hit our group chat. Ryan Brooks messaged, Morrison said, joint mocks fluctuate and everyone should stay calm. Ryan Brooks messaged, Dean Hayes asked who leaked the full ranking. Ryan Brooks messaged, Dean Hayes asked who leaked the full ranking. Historical event. Then came a photo from the Westbridge High hallway. Someone had printed the 4-school ranking and circled my name. Next to it, in messy handwriting, a student had written, transferred out, ranked above us. That was petty. I respected the penmanship of revenge. Mr. Whitman found me after evening self-study, standing near the literature board where the exit pass repost was still pinned. You paid the challenge, he said. Does that mean my phone is free during Chinese class? After assigned work? Cruel detail. After assigned work, cruel detail, educational detail. He handed me a thin folder. The administration wants to hold an open literature class next week. Board leaders will attend as part of the school culture review. They want student work that proves Brookfield High encourages real learning. I want you to speak about exit pass and exam writing. I looked at the folder, then at him. Teacher, this sounds like a trap wearing a tie. It is an opportunity wearing a schedule. Can I decline? You can try. I opened the folder. Open class outline, literature club notice, board attendance note, board attendance note. Nothing too formal yet, but enough to feel like the ground moving under my feet. Westbridge High had thrown away a student. Brookfield High was preparing to put that same student in front of board leaders. This had moved beyond a score reveal. It was ammunition. Mr. Whitman watched my face. Do not use the open class to rant. I would never. Logan, I would rarely. Use your head. I looked back at the literature board, at the pinned repost Westbridge High had deleted, and at my name on the mock ranking in Ms. Anderson's hand. I will, I said. The joint mock had become a slap. Next week, Brookfield High wanted me to make it sound polite. Director Marshall asked me which school was better before I had even touched the microphone. That was how I learned adults could smile like a trap had manners. The board inspection team stood near the literature classroom entrance with Dean Roberts, Brookfield High's dean, hovering beside them like a nervous host at a dinner where the guests could cancel the house. Mr. Whitman had warned me to use my head. Ms. Anderson had warned me to use fewer jokes. Both instructions were unfairly ambitious. Director Marshall looked at my open class folder, then at me. Logan Miller, he said, you transferred from Westbridge High recently. Yes, Director. Then tell me honestly, which school do you think is better, Westbridge High or Brookfield High? Dean Roberts' smile froze. Ms. Anderson's eyes moved to me with the calm terror of a teacher watching a student approach a cliff with tap shoes. This was the kind of question that ate students for breakfast. Praise, Westbridge High and Brookfield High, lost face. Bury Westbridge High, and I looked bitter. Give a useless answer, and I became a decoration with good exam scores, so I chose the only road that did not end with my body on the floor. Westbridge High taught me pressure, I said. Brookfield High taught me balance. Director Marshall's eyebrows lifted. I continued before my mouth could get greedy. I learned a lot at Westbridge High. Their review pace is strong. But after I came here, Ms. Anderson judged me by what I did in class, Mr. Whitman corrected my writing without treating it like a crime, and the school let me prove myself through work instead of rumors. For a student preparing for the SAT, that matters. Dean Roberts started breathing again. Director Marshall smiled. That is a careful answer. I have been recently encouraged to avoid ranting. Mr. Whitman coughed once. It sounded like a warning disguised as a respiratory event. One of the other leaders laughed softly. Director Marshall turned toward Dean Roberts. Your teachers seem to have given him room. Dean Roberts nodded immediately. Brookfield High believes students need pressure and space, both. That line was clean enough to go on a banner. Dean Roberts looked grateful that someone had left him a usable sentence instead of a smoking crater. Director Marshall nodded toward the literature board. Let's take the photo here. I should have stood normally. I almost did. Then Director Marshall said, you are also the student author of Exit Pass, correct? Correct. And first in Chinese across the 4-school mock. That also happened. Which school should win the demonstration culture review? The second trap had arrived wearing the first trap's jacket. I looked at the literature board where my repost still sat under the discussion thread. I looked at Dean Roberts trying to become invisible in his own hallway. Then I smiled. Whichever school I attend, obviously. For one clean second, adult formality failed. Director Marshall laughed. Ms. Anderson put a hand over her mouth. Mr. Whitman looked at the ceiling like he was requesting patience from a higher department. I added, but since I currently attend Brookfield High, I am willing to take a photo and help the evidence look strong. Director Marshall pointed at me. This one is bold. Teacher says it is a management problem. The photo happened. Director Marshall, Dean Roberts, Mr. Whitman, Ms. Anderson, and me in front of the literature board. I held my score sheet because Director Marshall told me to, and because I was a humble person who respected leadership instructions when they happened to involve showing off. Ryan saw the photo before the afternoon period ended. Ryan Brooks messaged, I leave you alone for one inspection and you join the government? I messaged, Student Culture Review. Ryan Brooks messaged, you are standing next to Director Marshall. I messaged, I tripped into civic engagement. Ryan Brooks messaged, posting this to Westbridge High Group. I messaged, use flattering angles. Ryan Brooks messaged, always. I am corrupt but professional. The photo spread faster than a rumor with a scholarship attached. By evening, Ryan sent 3 more updates. Westbridge High teachers had seen it. Mr. Morrison told Homeroom 204 not to discuss unverified online boasting. Dean Hayes asked the office who had let board leaders take photos with a transferred student. Then Westbridge High's PE department suddenly announced that public teasing, physical provocation, and off-campus gatherings around students would be strictly corrected. Amazing timing, truly mysterious, a policy flower blooming in the warm sunlight of career fear. The humor stopped when my mother called. Logan, she said, voice careful. Dean Hayes called home. I stepped out behind the classroom building where the noise was lower. What did he say? He asked whether you were adapting well. Then he said if there were misunderstandings about your file, the school could discuss them with us later. The same people who had signed me away now wanted the door to stay unlocked. Did he apologize? My mother was quiet for one breath. No, then it is not a discussion yet. She sighed. Your father asked why a dean suddenly cared after you transferred. Dad had joined the chat. Tell him I am fine, I said. And tell him not to sign or agree to anything if Westbridge High contacts you again. We will not. That answer settled something in me. In the old life, my parents had been dragged from office to office and fed official shame until even defending me felt exhausting. This time, Westbridge High had to call politely. Justice had not arrived. Movement had. The following week, the open literature class started. Mr. Whitman had promised it would be simple. Teacher language for, many adults will sit in the back and silently judge your soul. The room filled with students first, then teachers, then Dean Roberts and Director Marshall's group. Ms. Anderson stood near the wall with her arms folded, wearing the expression of a woman ready to drag me out by the collar if I treated the event like stand-up comedy. Emma sat in the second row, hands folded on her notebook. She looked nervous for me, which was unfair because I had planned to be nervous for myself and did not need help. Mason leaned against the back wall with 2 other boys. He tried to look bored. He failed when he saw the leaders. Mr. Whitman introduced me with a speech short enough to prove he respected oxygen. Logan Miller transferred to Brookfield High recently. He is the author of Exit Pass and ranked first in Chinese across the 4-school mock. Today he will speak about writing, exams, and what students can do with limited time. He glanced at me. Briefly. I walked to the front with my score sheet and my printed Exit Pass draft. The reason I am showing my score sheet first, I said, holding it up, is simple. I am showing off. The students laughed immediately. Mr. Whitman closed his eyes. Director Marshall smiled. Also, I continued, if I talk about discipline before proving I can pass an exam, everyone will think I am just another guy with a hobby and a big mouth. I do have a big mouth, but I prefer to bring documents. That got a stronger laugh. Then I put the score sheet down. Exit Pass did not save my grades by magic. It just taught me to do simple things repeatedly. Check the logic, cut the useless clever line, answer the actual question, then do it again. Mr. Whitman's face softened a fraction. So far, I had not embarrassed his profession. When I transferred, people called me a problem student. Some people still do. That is fine. Labels are easy. Work is harder. Brookfield High gave me a classroom where my work could answer. Ms. Anderson did not ask me to perform guilt. Mr. Whitman did not praise my writing and ignore my mistakes. They gave me pressure that pointed forward. The room quieted. I knew exactly where the rant lived. It was right there, behind my teeth, carrying Mr. Morrison's face and Dean Hayes's voice. I could have opened the cage. I could have made the room gasp. Instead, I looked at Emma. She was watching me like she trusted me to choose the better version. So I did. If there is one thing I learned, I said, it is that facts matter more when people want to set them aside. Scores, drafts, apologies, improvement. Do the simple things repeatedly, and sooner or later, the story people tell about you has to fight the evidence. For a second, nobody moved. Then someone near the back said, "Beast." Another student picked it up. "Beast." Then half the room started chanting it because students could turn any serious moment into a sports event if given 3 seconds and poor supervision. "Beast! Beast! Beast!" I did not start it. I would like the record to show that clearly. Mr. Whitman tapped the lectern. "Enough!" They got louder. Ms. Anderson hid a smile behind her hand. Mason from the back wall did not chant, but he watched me differently. Less like a target, more like a puzzle that had insulted him and then solved itself in public. Director Marshall clapped first. The leaders followed. The students shifted from chanting into applause, and for one clean breath, I was not Westbridge High's expelled problem, not Madison's former shield, not Dean Hayes's file threat. I was Brookfield High's student. That should not have hit as hard as it did. After class, Director Marshall shook my hand. "You are very good at walking near a line without stepping over it," he said. "Recent training. Brookfield High is lucky to have you." Dean Roberts looked like someone had handed him a gold bar with student ID attached. Mr. Whitman waited until the leaders moved away before leaning toward me. "You almost ranted." But I did not. I noticed. Can that be my new Chinese score? No. Cruel man. The school posted the open class video that afternoon. The clip they chose was my "do simple things repeatedly" line, the score sheet joke, and the chant. Within an hour, students were quoting it in the forum. Within 2, Ryan sent a screenshot from Westbridge High's group chat. Ryan Brooks messaged, "Morrison says the chant is childish." I messaged, "He deleted a praise post and bribed you with breakfast money." Ryan Brooks messaged, "I said nothing because I am a professional informant." Ryan Brooks messaged, "Dean Hayes told teachers not to comment on board matters." Ryan Brooks messaged, translation, "Scared. I should have enjoyed that longer." Instead, I sat in the library after school, open class video playing silently on one tab, and a supplier page open on another. The supplier page belonged to Willow Lace Boutique. I chose that category for the ugliest reason. I remembered it from the old life. A small online store in that niche had blown up around Christmas because its algorithm timing, packaging, and comfort-focused basics hit exactly when holiday shopping went feral. It was legal, boring if described responsibly, and embarrassing enough to make a grown man reconsider every life choice. Perfect. My public image had just become inspiring student author. My private tab was full of wholesale comfort wear and shipping charts, duality, character development, academic excellence with inventory risk. I covered the product thumbnails when Emma walked by because I had survival instincts in at least one category. She paused at my table. "Are you writing?" "Researching." "For the novel? For capitalism?" She tilted her head. "That sounds dangerous." It usually is. The problem was capital. The open class video had given me attention, but attention did not buy inventory. My small savings could cover the store setup and first test batch. If the trend hit the way I remembered, the orders would outrun my wallet fast. I looked at the video, then the supplier page, then Emma's careful expression. Fame, romance, and business pressure had arrived at the same table. Some people got a peaceful senior year. Apparently, I got a literature chant and a store category I could not explain without lowering my voice. Madison tried to add me back the same afternoon I became Brookfield High's inspirational video clip. The timing was so shameless it deserved a certificate. Her friend request sat on my phone while I was still in the library, pretending the Willow Lace supplier page was normal academic research. The message preview came with her usual soft panic. Madison Cole messaged, "Logan, please. Mr. Morrison says the board video is making things complicated. I just want to talk to you like before." Like before. That phrase had enough mold on it to qualify as a biology sample. I screenshotted the request, sent it to my private folder, and declined it. Then I looked at Emma, who was still standing beside the table with her notebook hugged to her chest. "Miss Blake," I said, "do you watch movies?" She blinked. "Sometimes." "Excellent. I am conducting field research into whether inspirational student authors can survive normal social activities. Are you asking me to go with you?" "Yes." She looked at my laptop where I had slammed the lid down a little too quickly. "For capitalism? For cinema? I lent you money." "I repaid the gate money this morning." "I repaid the gate money this morning." "I know. Then why mention it?" Emma's ears went pink. "Because I am not used to being asked to movies." That shut my mouth for half a second. A rare public holiday. "Then I will ask clearly," I said. "Emma Blake, will you watch a movie with me this weekend?" She looked down at her notebook. "I have to ask my father." "That is allowed. And I am not buying the tickets." "I invited you. I pay. That sounds like debt. It sounds like a date. She froze. I probably should have softened it. Too late. The word sat between us, huge and ridiculous and wearing formal shoes. Emma's voice dropped. A date? If you hate that word, we can call it a joint cultural field trip with snacks. Her mouth moved. A date is fine. I kept both feet on the floor, made no victory speech, and preserved my library privileges under Ms. Anderson's jurisdiction. I simply nodded like a mature adult. Inside, every brain cell I owned ran directly into a wall. The movie was 2 days later. I brought milk tea because affection without logistics was just poetry pretending to be useful. Emma arrived in a white dress under her coat, with a small handbag held in both hands. She looked so different from the quiet girl at the window that my first instinct was to make a joke before my face gave away too much. "Miss Blake," I said, "you have betrayed the seating chart." She looked down at her dress. "Is it strange?" "Very." Her shoulders tightened. "Strange in the sense that my vocabulary has become useless." She looked up, and the worry left her eyes slowly. "Say the true thing, then stop. I was learning. We watched a movie neither of us remembered afterward. That was probably the film's fault, but I was willing to accept partial responsibility." Emma sat beside me with both hands around her milk tea for the first 20 minutes, like the cup was a legal guardian. Halfway through, her fingers rested on the armrest. Mine rested beside them. The gap between our hands became the most dramatic thing in the theater. Forget the actors. 2 seniors trying to touch hands without causing a national incident had more suspense than the entire plot. When my fingers finally brushed hers, she did not pull away. So I held her hand. Emma stared at the screen with heroic concentration. "Your hand is warm," she whispered. "I studied." She pressed her lips together, trying not to smile. After the movie, I gave her the bracelet. It was simple, silver-toned, with a small pale charm. Nothing expensive enough to scare her, nothing cheap enough to insult the moment. I had picked it because she used her hands like careful instruments, writing, adjusting her glasses, folding apology notes, lending money with a calm face while making sure I wrote a debt record. "This is not repayment," I said before she could object. "The debt record is separate. This is because I wanted to." Emma held the bracelet in her palm. "Why?" "Because when everyone was calling me a problem, you asked whether I was okay. Because you told me the novel was good before it made me famous. Because you warned me about Mason even when you barely knew me." She blinked fast. "That is a lot of because." "I cut several for time," she laughed quietly. I fastened the bracelet around her wrist, and for once neither of us made the moment smaller. Her hand trembled a little. Mine did too. Then, because I was still me, I said, "I can walk you home tonight." Emma's eyes widened. "Home," I clarified quickly. "To your door. Public sidewalk. Fully legal. No dramatic misunderstanding package included." She clutched her handbag tighter. "I know. You did not look like you knew. I was confirming." "With the handbag defense stance?" She looked away, pink to the ears. "Maybe. That tiny misunderstanding should not have made me as happy as it did." Ryan ruined the softness 3 minutes later. Ryan Brooks appeared across the street with a skewer in one hand and the expression of a man who had discovered national treasure. "Logan Miller?" he shouted. "Miss Blake?" I closed my eyes. Emma whispered, "Is that Ryan?" "Unfortunately, yes." Ryan lifted his phone. "Smile for evidence preservation." "Ryan," I said, "I will preserve your spine separately." He took the photo anyway. By evening, the picture had spread through 2 class chats and 1 Westbridge High group, because Ryan understood privacy as a theoretical concept other people enjoyed. I did not deny it. When someone in Brookfield High's forum posted, "Is exit pass dating Emma Blake?" I replied with 1 sentence. Ms. Blake owed the seating chart an explanation. Emma saw it and hid her face in her notebook for an entire minute. Ms. Anderson passed our row before first period, glanced at Emma's notebook fortress and said, "Class gossip is not a homework category." "Teacher, that limits our electives," I said. "It also keeps me from assigning reflection papers." The room lowered its volume immediately. Emma's shoulders eased, and I filed that under adult intervention that did not require a microphone. Madison saw it too. I knew because Ryan sent me a screenshot from Westbridge High's group chat where someone had posted our photo and Madison had gone silent again. Silence was becoming her most honest language. Chloe also saw it. The next morning, she dropped into the seat in front of us with a breakfast bun and a face full of theatrical injury. "So," Chloe said, "the author has a date, a bracelet, and a secret laptop tab." My hand stopped on my pen. Emma looked at me. Chloe smiled sweetly. "Breakfast tomorrow. Or I ask out loud why an inspirational literature celebrity was researching Willow Lace Boutique in the library." Emma's eyes moved from Chloe to me. Consequence had arrived wearing lip gloss. "It is a store wearing lip gloss." Emma's expression did not change, which was worse. A legal online store, I added. Comfort-focused apparel. Non-explicit. Boring business category with embarrassing branding. Chloe laughed so hard she had to put the bun down. You are selling that. I am evaluating a market. That is what guilty people call selling. Emma adjusted her glasses. Why that market? I could have lied. I could have said I stumbled on it randomly. But after the author's secret mistake, lying to Emma over a business tab would be premium stupidity with gift wrapping. Because around the holidays, small online categories spike if the product is practical, priced right, and packaged discreetly, I said. I remember seeing a store like this explode before. It is embarrassing, but the demand is real. You remember? Chloe asked. From old market posts, I said smoothly. That was close enough to truth to stand without exposing the impossible part. Emma looked at the bracelet on her wrist, then back at me. Is this why you needed money? No. The gate money was separate, and I repaid it. I have not borrowed for the store. Will you? I do not want to. That answer mattered. Emma nodded once. Chloe leaned on her hand. So, breakfast? Fine, I said. One breakfast, in exchange for not yelling my store category across the classroom like a town crier with no future. 2 breakfasts, 1 breakfast, and I explain how I beat you in English. Chloe paused. Deal. Emma looked between us. That was fast. Academic jealousy is a stable currency, I said. The Willow Lace store went live that night. I kept the setup simple, clean product names, no explicit descriptions, no ridiculous slogans, basic size guidance, discreet shipping, and customer service templates that sounded like a normal business instead of a teenager sweating into a keyboard. Ryan handled the first wave of promotion through people he knew online, which meant he sent exactly 1 sentence to a dozen group chats, Ryan Brooks messaged. My friend opened a mystery comfort store. Use this link if you are an adult and have taste. Do not ask me questions. I called him immediately. Ryan. What? I said. Adult. You also said mystery. Mystery sells. No Ryan. Boring categories do not go viral. He was wrong in principle and annoyingly useful in practice. The first orders came in before midnight. Then the next. Then the next. Small numbers, but real. Real names. Real addresses. Real money. I stared at the dashboard longer than I should have. Exit pass comments felt good. Exam scores felt good. This felt different. A store did not clap. It demanded packaging, responses, inventory, refunds, shipping times, and enough cash to survive its own success. By morning, the order count had crossed what my tiny test batch could comfortably handle. Hope was visible. So was the problem. Mason found me behind the gym during lunch. He looked worse than usual. Not angry worse, tired worse. His uniform jacket was half-zipped, his hair was messier than his image normally allowed, and he did not start with a threat. That alone made the joke stop. You pay people for that store? He asked. I closed the order dashboard on my phone. Depends what they do. He stared at the ground. My grandmother is in the hospital again. My dad got hurt in a car accident last month. I need money. His voice had dropped the performance, just pride being forced to walk barefoot over glass. I had disliked Mason. That was easy. He had threatened me, postured at me, tried to scare me with outside boys. But standing there, asking without knowing how to ask, he did not look like Tyler. Tyler enjoyed protection. Mason was drowning inside his tough guy costume. Are you asking for a loan? I said. His jaw tightened. Forget it, Mason. He stopped. I do not do pity loans, I said. I have work. He turned back, suspicious. What kind? Customer messages, sorting orders, packing lists, delivery coordination. Private setup. Skip product jokes in public, keep the tough act away from customers, and I pay per batch with a bonus if you do it clean. He looked at me like I had offered him homework with a paycheck attached. You want me to work for you? No, I want you to work for money. I am simply the annoying doorway. And if I mess up, I fire you. For the first time, Mason almost smiled. You are still arrogant, consistent branding. He looked away. I cannot have people knowing, then do the work quietly. Why help me? I could have said because I needed labor. True. I could have said because turning a rival into a worker was efficient. Also true. But the real answer sat in his tired face. Because needing money does not make you weak, I said. Acting cruel because you need respect does. Mason swallowed. Humor stayed dead for that one. Fine, he said. I will try. Trying is cute. Orders need correct addresses. He rolled his eyes, and the room breathed again. That afternoon, Mason Cooper, former gate threat and current reluctant human logistics department, sat beside me in an empty classroom and learned how to answer customer messages for Willow Lace without sounding like he was about to challenge someone to a fight. It was painful. It was also productive. By the end of the hour, he had processed 12 orders, made 3 address corrections, and asked whether the store name was supposed to sound like a mushroom. It is willow lace, I said. It is memorable. It sounds like a snack. So did your intimidation strategy? He glared, but he kept typing. The order count kept climbing. Emma watched us from the doorway after school, bracelet on her wrist, expression thoughtful. He works for you now? She asked. Mason stiffened. He works for money, I said. Emma nodded, like that answer mattered. Mason looked at the bracelet, then at me, then wisely chose silence. Maturity was spreading. Frightening. That night, the store crossed a number I had not expected until the end of the week. Ryan sent 3 screaming messages. Chloe demanded her breakfast before she raised consulting fees. Mason sent a photo of packed order slips with the caption, Mason Cooper messaged, "Done. Pay accurate." I looked at the dashboard, then at Emma's unpaid emotional trust sitting inside every decision I made. The store was real, the date was real, Mason's need was real. And then, right before midnight, the class group chat exploded. A Brookfield High student claimed he had been admitted early to Rockwell University through a private entrance channel. No SAT needed. Pay the fee, pass the private exam, secure the future. Mason messaged me at the same time. Mason Cooper messaged, "Orders still rising. We need more inventory." I stared at the fake admission link on one side of my screen and the willow lace order dashboard on the other. 2 problems, both hungry for money. Only one of them was real. Caleb Warren announced he had escaped the SAT before first period, which was how I knew the fake Rockwell scam had arrived. He stood near the front row with his phone held up like a trophy. The screen showed a red-stamped admission notice, a private consultation account, and enough official-looking language to make nervous parents hear wedding bells from a university gate. "Early admission," Caleb said. "Rockwell University. Private entrance channel. My uncle knows someone." The class moved toward him like someone had opened a bag of future. I stayed in my seat. Willow lace orders were still rising on my phone. Mason had already sent 2 messages asking whether we should reorder packaging. I had planned to spend the morning pretending I was a normal student with normal problems, which was adorable of me. Then Caleb said the magic words. No SAT needed. Every head turned sharper. In senior year, no SAT needed was not a sentence. It was a weapon disguised as dessert. Someone near the window asked, "Is it real?" Caleb puffed up. "My family paid the review fee last night. They said if we finish the private exam, the seat is held." Held. Review fee. Private exam. Seat guaranteed. The scam had not even changed its shoes from my old life. I walked over and looked at the notice. The logo was close, the wording was smooth, and the contact number was 1 digit away from looking respectable. A lazy scam would have been easier. This one had done homework, which was rude because homework belonged to students suffering legally. "Call Rockwell's official admissions office," I said. Caleb glanced at me. "I already called." They answered. "You called the number on the flyer. That is the admission office. That is the number printed by the people asking for your money." The room made the soft sound of everyone realizing this might become interesting. Caleb's smile tightened. "Are you saying I got tricked?" "I am saying call the official number from the university website." "Why? Because you are jealous?" Pride had arrived wearing a student uniform and holding a counterfeit future. I took out my own phone and searched the official Rockwell University site. "Here, use this number." Caleb did not take it. The class stared at us. Chloe looked from Caleb to me, then slowly lowered her breakfast bun. Emma had gone still beside the window, bracelet bright on her wrist. Ms. Anderson entered at exactly the wrong time for peace, and exactly the right time for survival. "Why is everyone standing?" she asked. One boy answered, "Caleb got into Rockwell." "Private channel," another added. Ms. Anderson's eyes moved to Caleb's phone, then to my face. She had developed a teacher sense for situations where my mouth was about to become school paperwork. "Logan," she said, "short version. Caleb's family may have paid a fake admission office. We need to call the official number, not the flyer number." Caleb snapped, "You do not know that." "Good," I said. "Then prove me wrong in front of everyone. That was unfair. It was also effective." Caleb took my phone like I had handed him a snake. Ms. Anderson stood beside him while he dialed the official number on speaker. The class held its breath. The line connected. Ms. Anderson handled the first part because adults sounded less like chaos when speaking to other adults. She gave the school name, explained that a student had received a private entrance admission notice, and read the number printed on the flyer. The admissions officer on the other end went quiet for 3 seconds. Then she said, "Rockwell University has no private entrance channel for final year high school students. Please do not transfer money. Keep all records and report to local police." Caleb's face changed. The pride drained first. Then the color. That was the early reward, and it tasted like relief with a side of dread. Ms. Anderson took the notice from him. "Has your family paid?" Caleb swallowed. "A deposit. How much?" He lowered his voice. That was when the joke stopped. Ms. Anderson did not scold him. Good teachers knew when a student had already been punched by reality. "Call your parents now," she said. "Tell them not to send another cent. Logan, send me the official link and a screenshot of this notice. Class monitor, go ask the office to contact Dean Roberts. Everyone else, sit down and stop forwarding anything until the school verifies it." Students moved fast. Fear did what announcements could not. Within 20 minutes, Brookfield High had the flyer, Caleb's chat records, 2 other students admitting their families had asked about the same channel, and Dean Roberts walking into our classroom with the expression of a man whose peaceful morning had been dragged behind a bus. He listened to Ms. Anderson, looked at the official Rockwell website, and called the district police liaison from the hallway. I kept my face neutral. Inside, old memory was unrolling with ugly precision. In the first life, the scam had spread through parent groups for days. By the time anyone admitted it was fake, several families had sent money they never fully recovered. Westbridge High had been one of the loudest schools hit because parents there loved shortcuts as long as they wore elite branding. This time, we had caught it before lunch. That mattered. I sent Ryan one message. I messaged, "If anyone at Westbridge High mentions Rockwell early admission, tell them to call the official website number, not the flyer number. Screenshot everything." Ryan answered in 12 seconds. Ryan Brooks messaged, "Does the admission come with a free fantasy certificate?" I messaged Ryan. Ryan Brooks messaged, "Fine, serious mode, sending." 3 minutes later, he sent the first screenshot. Ryan Brooks messaged, "Madison posted." 1. My stomach tightened before I opened it. Madison had not posted the whole notice. Of course she had not. She posted the pretty part, the red seal, the congratulations line, and a caption about finally having a path that did not depend on people who wanted her to fail. Subtle as a brick through glass. Ryan warned her in the group chat. Ryan Brooks messaged, "Call the real Rockwell admissions number from the official website. Brookfield High just checked. The flyer number is fake." Brianna Wells answered before Madison did. Brianna Wells messaged, "Of course Logan says that. He cannot stand Madison getting good news without him." Ryan Brooks messaged, "My dream is one day Westbridge High develops a second explanation besides jealousy." Brianna Wells messaged, "You are only saying this because Logan told you to." Ryan Brooks messaged, "Correct. He is annoying and alive to scams." Madison finally typed. Madison Cole messaged, "Ryan, please do not spread panic. My parents already confirmed with the office." Ryan sent me the screenshot with one comment. Ryan Brooks messaged, "They called the flyer office." I looked across the classroom. Caleb was in the hallway, phone pressed to his ear, shoulders hunched while Ms. Anderson stood nearby. A boy who had been bragging 10 minutes ago now looked like a child trying to keep his parents from falling through a hole. I typed back. I messaged, "Tell Madison to call the official number on speaker. If she refuses, send the Brookfield High verification screenshot and stop arguing." Ryan Brooks messaged, "She will say you are jealous." I messaged, "Then she can be scammed with confidence." That sounded colder than I felt. The old me would have wanted Madison to lose money. The old me had earned that bitterness honestly. But this was parents' savings, not just Madison's pride. This was families panicking in kitchens, fathers moving money between accounts, mothers whispering that maybe their child had one clean way out. Revenge was fun. Watching innocent people pay for a liar's arrogance was not. So Ryan sent the warning again, this time with the official number, the Rockwell website screenshot, and Ms. Anderson's classroom verification note. Westbridge High did what Westbridge High was becoming famous for doing. It argued with evidence. By noon, Brianna had called Ryan bitter, Madison had gone quiet, and Mr. Morrison had told Homeroom 204 not to spread unconfirmed fear. That phrase deserved a trophy for being wrong in 3 directions. Brookfield High, meanwhile, moved like a school that enjoyed not being sued. Dean Roberts sent an emergency notice to parent groups. Teachers called families directly. Ms. Anderson made every student with the flyer forward records to the office. The police arrived before afternoon self-study, 2 officers in plain dark jackets who looked tired in the professional way adults got tired when fraud decided to breed. They did not give us a lecture, they gave us 3 instructions. Keep records. Do not send more money. Use official numbers only. Simple. Human. Useful. One officer asked who first pushed the official number check. Ms. Anderson pointed at me. I lifted a hand. "I am trying to be low-key." The officer looked at the classroom full of students staring at me, then at the open class video still pinned on the school forum. "You are failing." He was correct. By late afternoon, the first real payoff arrived. Dean Roberts announced that because Brookfield High reported early, police and banks had frozen the receiving accounts fast enough to protect most of the money Brookfield High families had sent or were about to send. Caleb sat down like his bones had been removed. He covered his face with both hands. "My mom was going to pay the second fee tonight," he said. No one laughed. Ms. Anderson put the notice on her desk. "Then tonight, she does not." That line moved through the room quietly. It landed better than drama because it meant money stayed in a family's hands. Ryan's side got worse. He sent a voice message from somewhere noisy. Westbridge High parents are losing it. Some families already paid more than the first deposit. Morrison kept telling people not to panic, and now everyone is asking why Brookfield High warned parents before Westbridge High did. Another screenshot followed. A Westbridge High parent group had copied a police notice, and one line listed the first student source as Logan Miller. Because my transfer record had not fully cleaned itself out of every system, someone had tagged me with my old Westbridge High class before correcting it to Brookfield High. The parent group saw only the part they cared about. Logan Miller, formerly Westbridge High, reported early. Saved Brookfield High families. I did not need to imagine the rest. Ryan sent the photos. Parents crowded the Westbridge High office hallway. A woman in a beige coat held up her phone and asked why a student they had driven away was the one who knew to verify the scam. A man beside her demanded the homeroom teacher for homeroom 204. Someone else shouted that Brookfield High had frozen money in time while Westbridge High was still protecting its reputation. Then Ryan sent the best and worst message of the day. Ryan Brooks messaged, "They found Morrison." The attached photo was blurry, but the meaning was clear. Mr. Morrison stood inside the office door with his face arranged into professional concern. Parents packed the hallway with phones raised, asking why he had dismissed my work. For months, Westbridge High had wanted everyone to believe I was a problem they had generously released into the wild. Now their own parents were asking why the released problem had saved another school money. I looked at Caleb, still pale but safe from the second payment. I looked at Ms. Anderson collecting records from students. I looked at the Willow Lace dashboard flashing another order notification on my phone. One fake money trap had been stopped. The real money problem was still waiting for me. And across town, Westbridge High parents had just surrounded Mr. Morrison's office. While Westbridge High parents were turning Mr. Morrison's office into an unpaid customer service counter, Mason discovered that Willow Lace had created a new emergency all by itself. He found me before morning reading and shoved his phone under my face. "We cannot ship this," he said. "That was Mason Cooper's version of a greeting now. Some people said good morning." Mason arrived with operational despair. The dashboard had crossed a number that made my stomach perform a small illegal turn. Orders had jumped after Ryan's promotion, then jumped again after people realized the store actually delivered normal products with discreet packaging and no weird nonsense. Success was beautiful. Success also had teeth. "We need more inventory," Mason said, "and more packaging, and I need time to answer messages. You have class, I have customers, you have both, because senior year is a buffet of suffering." He gave me a flat look. "I can skip self-study." "No." "Then orders get delayed. Then we build a system." Mason looked personally offended by the word system. Former tough guys preferred problems they could glare at. The first bell rang. I walked into class with Mason behind me, both of us staring at the same ugly truth. The fake Rockwell scam had proved my future memory could protect people, but Willow Lace was proving memory did not pack boxes, print labels, answer customers, or buy stock. Ms. Anderson caught us before we reached our seats. "Why do both of you look like you committed accounting?" Mason turned silent. "Cowardice. Very disappointing from my best bud." "Teacher," I said, "I need to request controlled library computer access." Ms. Anderson looked at me. "For studying?" "Studying adjacent." Her expression sharpened. "Logan. A legal store. Non-explicit category. Proper customer service. No classroom disturbance. Also, Mason needs paid work and cannot skip class." Mason muttered, "You make it sound worse. I am making it sound printable." Ms. Anderson brought us to the office during break. She made me open the store dashboard, the product page, the customer templates, and the order list. Her face went through several stages. Teacher concern, adult recognition, professional recognition, professional regret that students were allowed to have internet access. Finally, she pressed 2 fingers to her forehead. "You kid, I accept that as a nuanced review. This is the business?" "Yes, and the products are exactly as described here? Comfort apparel, no explicit descriptions, no illegal items, no school names, no student photos, no nonsense?" "Correct." "And Mason is answering customers? With supervision?" Mason frowned. "I am sitting right here. That is why I said with supervision." Ms. Anderson stared at him until he looked away first. Efficient woman. Then she called Mr. Thompson from the science office. Mr. Thompson arrived with a stack of worksheets under one arm and the expression of a man who considered joy an optional elective. He listened for 30 seconds, looked at the order sheet and said, "Miller, your science comprehensive score has no right to be ignored while you run a store." "Teacher, I love how everyone supports my dreams." "Cooper," Mr. Thompson continued, "your math and physics are worse than his inventory planning." Mason looked wounded. "That feels personal." "It is academic." Ms. Anderson folded her arms. Here is the bargain. Library computer after lunch and after school. No customer messages during class. Mason works only after he completes assigned problems. Logan tutors him. Mr. Thompson checks the science work twice a week. If grades drop, the arrangement dies. Mason's head lifted. Grades? You are a final year student, Ms. Anderson said. Not a warehouse ghost. That was the early micro payoff. We got the library access. The cost was that I had accidentally adopted a logistics employee with homework. Chloe heard about it before lunch because information in Brookfield High moved faster than disease. She blocked the library doorway with Grace Foster beside her and looked at Mason sitting in front of a physics worksheet and a pile of order slips. Cooper, Chloe said, are you studying? Mason did not look up. No. Mr. Thompson's worksheet sat under his elbow with 3 completed problems. Chloe leaned closer. That paper says otherwise. The paper is lying, Grace whispered to Emma. This is the strangest romance side effect I have ever seen. Emma's face went pink. It is not because of me. I looked up from the ledger. Miss Blake, give yourself credit. Your seating chart influence has destroyed local delinquency. Mason threw an eraser at me. It missed. Best bud, I said sadly. Your aim reflects your physics. Mr. Thompson appeared in the doorway at exactly that moment. Mason picked up the eraser and returned to the worksheet like a man choosing life. The system worked for 6 hours. Then the inventory quote arrived. I had expected ugly. I had prepared for ugly. I had even cleared emotional space for ugly to sit down and introduce itself. The numbers still made my throat close. The supplier could hold the stock for 1 day. After that, the holiday batch would go to another buyer. If we failed to ship on time, refunds would eat the profit, customers would vanish, and Mason's new work would become a lesson in how hope could be mismanaged by a guy with good grades and insufficient cash. I tried every clean option first. Ryan had reach, not capital. Mason needed money, so asking him was a moral crime with a shipping label. My own savings and the order deposits covered only part of the stock. Slower purchasing would keep us safe and kill the opportunity. By evening, the ledger looked like a math problem designed by a villain. Emma sat across from me in the library, bracelet resting against her sleeve. Grace had dragged Chloe away before Chloe could offer consulting with no money and too much confidence. Mason was in the corner answering messages after completing his assigned problems, grumbling at every polite sentence like customer service personally insulted his ancestors. Emma looked at the ledger. How much is missing? Enough. Logan. I hated when she used my name like punctuation. It worked too well. I turned the notebook toward her. She read the number. Her eyes widened, but she did not flinch. Can the store really repay it? She asked. If the orders hold, yes. If I misjudge timing, no. If a supplier delays, also no. If I panic and make stupid promises, definitely no. You are not making stupid promises. I am one inspirational video away from becoming the exact kind of guy I hate. Emma went quiet. The words landed harder than I meant them to. I closed the ledger. Sorry, no, she said softly. Say it. So I did. I hate when people use trust as a ladder. Madison used mine. Westbridge High used my record. Dean Hayes used authority. I cannot take your money and call it romance. I will not do that. Emma reached into her bag. First, she took out a small bank envelope. These are my savings, she said. Miss Blake, listen first. My mouth closed. I closed my mouth, which hurt more than expected. I saved this from allowance and piano event money, she said. It is mine. I can lend it with a record. It is not enough. I know. Then she took out a card. The library seemed to lose sound. The card looked ordinary, and that made it frightening. Real money did not need to sparkle. It sat there, calm and heavy, like a quiet adult entering a room full of children playing shop. My father gave this to me for expenses, Emma said. The limit is high. How high? She told me. $300,000. The number did not feel like money. It felt like a cliff. Mason stopped typing in the corner. I kept my eyes on Emma. Looking away from her would have turned the moment into business. The trust in front of me was large enough to crush both of us if I held it wrong. No, I said. Emma's fingers tightened around the card. You have not heard my condition. Your condition cannot make this small. I do not want it small. That made me shut up. Emma looked scared. She also looked steady in a way people missed because they mistook quiet for empty. You repaid the gate money, she said. You wrote the debt down. You told me about the store when Chloe forced it into the open. You offered Mason work instead of pity. You reported the scam before people lost more. I am not lending money because you smiled at me. Her voice trembled once, then held. I am lending it because I trust what you do when money is dangerous. That was worse than a confession. A confession asked me to feel something. This asked me to become someone worthy of it. I pushed the card back toward her. If we do this, there is a ledger. written agreement, amount capped, every transfer recorded, supplier invoice attached, repayment schedule, store revenue goes back to you first after wages and refunds. If your father asks, I do not hide behind you. Okay, Emma, your father will see the records. I know, he may think I used you. Her eyes flickered. That fear was already there. Then we keep proof that you did not, she said. The humor stayed dead. I opened a new ledger page and wrote the date, amount, purpose, repayment terms, and every condition in handwriting clear enough to survive an angry father. Emma watched each line. Mason came over only when I asked him to witness the inventory count. His face was serious. No jokes, no tough act. You sure? He asked Emma. Emma nodded. Mason signed his witness with handwriting that looked like it had fought a printer and lost. Then he went back to the computer and processed orders like his own family depended on the store staying alive. Because part of it did. The supplier payment went through that night. The business survived the inventory bottleneck. Nobody cheered. That was the strange part. When I ranked first in Chinese, everyone exploded. When the open class video went up, people chanted. When the store survived, the library stayed quiet. The only sounds were typing, the printer, Emma's pen, and Mason muttering customer names under his breath so he would not misspell them. Hope could be loud. Responsibility was usually paperwork. Over the next 2 days, Mason changed in a way that annoyed everyone who preferred simple labels. He came to the library during every break, he answered messages, printed packing lists, and finished Mr. Thompson's assigned problems before touching customer chat. When classmates asked whether he had been punished, he said, paid work, and kept walking. Chloe watched him through the library window one afternoon. This is weird, she said. Growth often is, I said. Do not make it sound noble. It is Mason. Inside, Mason frowned at a physics problem, erased half his work, then tried again. Chloe's expression changed before she remembered to hide it. Grace, standing beside Emma, whispered, He looks serious. He is, Emma said. That answer had no T's in it. By the third day, Mr. Thompson checked Mason's worksheet and made a small grunt. Mason stiffened. Wrong? Less wrong. Mason looked at me. Is that praise? From Mr. Thompson? That is a parade. Mr. Thompson gave me the worksheet next. Miller, your own science corrections are incomplete. The parade ran me over. Ms. Anderson approved the library schedule for another week because nobody's grades had dropped, customers were being handled outside class, and Mason had stopped treating homework like an enemy gang. That should have been the end of the section of my life titled Business Stress with Educational Benefits. Then Ryan sent a message from Westbridge High. Ryan Brooks messaged, Parents are still mad from Rockwell. Ryan Brooks messaged, Morrison keeps saying you transferred voluntarily. Ryan Brooks messaged, Dean Hayes says, school records can clarify misunderstandings. I stared at that last line. Records, misunderstandings. The same polite words had come through my mother before, now they were walking toward my door. My phone rang before I could answer Ryan. Mom. I picked up immediately. Logan, she said, keeping her voice low, Dean Hayes and Mr. Morrison are downstairs. The library lights hummed above me. Emma's card record lay open in my ledger. Mason was packing order slips. Emma sat beside me, quiet and trusting, with 300,000 reasons for her father to hate my face if I failed her. Westbridge High had finally come to my home with my file, and for once, I had too much to lose to enjoy it properly. By the time I reached home, Westbridge High parents had already turned Mr. Morrison into a hallway exhibit titled, Teacher Avoiding Consequences. Ryan sent the photos while I was still in the taxi. Parents packed the office corridor shoulder to shoulder. Phones were raised. Faces were red. Mr. Morrison stood near the door with his teacher, smile stretched so thin it could have been used as plastic wrap. Ryan Brooks messaged. Someone asked why you saved Brookfield High families, but Westbridge High told people not to panic. Ryan Brooks messaged. Morrison said you had already transferred and Westbridge High could not control your behavior. Ryan Brooks messaged. Parent asked who made you transfer. Ryan Brooks messaged. Silence achieved. Very rare species. For once, Westbridge High's favorite answer, Logan Miller is someone else's problem, had walked back into the office with a crowd of angry parents attached. Then Ryan sent one more line. Ryan Brooks messaged. Dean Hayes just left. Guess where? I looked out the taxi window at the apartment gate ahead. Yeah, I muttered. I have a guess. Dean Hayes called it a visit. Adults loved soft words. A threat became guidance, panic became concern, and reputation surgery arrived at our apartment wearing shoe covers. When I opened our apartment door, my mother stood near the kitchen, tense but steady. My father sat on the sofa with his work jacket still on. Across from him were Dean Hayes and Mr. Morrison, both holding paper folders like those folders had not been sharpened on the way over. Dean Hayes looked at me first. Logan, he said, voice polished, we came to clarify some misunderstandings. I changed shoes slowly. Interesting. Last time Westbridge High clarified something, I lost a school. Mr. Morrison's mouth tightened. My father looked at me. Sit down first. That was Dad's way of saying, do not open with a bomb before I know where the windows are. I sat beside him. Before Dean Hayes could open the folder, I sent Ryan one message under the table. Stay awake. If I ask, send the parent office photos again. Ryan Brooks messaged, I live for unpaid labor. I left the chat open beside my screenshots. No recording lecture, no legal drama. My parents were witnesses, and Ryan held the paper trail. Dean Hayes placed the file on the coffee table. The recent scam incident has caused some parents to ask emotional questions. They misunderstand the circumstances of your transfer. They asked why I was not at Westbridge High when the warning came, I said. You had already chosen Brookfield High. My mother folded her hands. Did he choose, or was he told his future was finished unless he withdrew? The room went quiet. I looked at Mom. She did not look back. She kept her eyes on Dean Hayes. That hit harder than I expected. In the old life, she had been exhausted by shame. In this life, she had facts and did not plan to set them aside for anybody's furniture. Dean Hayes's face stayed controlled. Mrs. Miller, discipline conversations can sound severe when emotions are high. My father leaned forward. Then why did you come here after parents got angry? Dad had found the window and opened it himself. Mr. Morrison tried to recover. We care about Logan's future. Westbridge High does not want any record language to affect him unfairly. That is new, I said. Logan, Morrison said, using the old teacher voice, you should understand that schools need face too. I understand face, I said. Westbridge High deleted its praise post after learning I wrote exit pass, then someone floated that I copied it. Then you tried to use Madison and Ryan to make me stop posting. Then Westbridge High ignored a scam warning because calling me jealous was easier. Morrison's face changed at Ryan's name. I did not mention the $60. Not yet. Some evidence was a knife. You did not wave every knife during the appetizer. Dean Hayes tapped the folder. This is exactly why we need a calm solution. If Westbridge High posts a clarification that your transfer was normal and that both schools are cooperating, parents will stop asking hostile questions. You can focus on your SAT. We can also make sure your file contains no negative language. They had not come to command me. They had come to ask me to help them look innocent. I almost smiled. Almost. Then I remembered my mother sitting across from the same school that had once made her lower her head, and the smile died before it earned rent. No, I said. Dean Hayes's eyes narrowed. No? A vague cooperation statement will not work. Neither will normal transfer or pretending both schools handled this well. Mr. Morrison's voice sharpened. Then what do you want? That sentence was worth framing. Westbridge High had finally asked what I wanted. I took out my phone and opened the folder where I kept screenshots. Madison's first message. Westbridge High's deleted praise. The Brookfield High repost. The open class video. Ryan's scam warning screenshots. I placed the phone on the table, screen up, so my parents could see every item as I named it. Public correction, I said. Westbridge High states that I did not copy exit pass, that the earlier deletion created misunderstanding, and that my transfer record will not include discipline language from the Tyler incident. Dean Hayes went very still. I continued. Tyler Hayes's role gets addressed properly, not hidden under student conflict, not washed because he is your son. My father looked at Dean Hayes. Dean Hayes's jaw tightened. Careful, he said. I am being careful. That is why I am using names in my own living room and not on the school forum. My mother inhaled, but she did not stop me. And Mr. Morrison apologizes, I said. Morrison gave a short laugh. For what, exactly? For demanding self-reflection while setting aside facts, for letting Madison's tears outrank my messages, for trying to recover the value of my novel after Westbridge High threw away the student who wrote it. For a second, no one spoke. Then my father said, "Those demands sound reasonable?" Mr. Morrison looked at him like he had discovered a second Logan in adult form. Dean Hayes closed the folder. You are asking Westbridge High to embarrass itself. No, I said. Westbridge High did that. I am asking for a receipt. Westbridge High had come to our home, placed my file on our table, and realized the discarded student now had terms. I did not have to shout, beg, or slam an office door to make them hear those terms. Dean Hayes did not accept them. People like him treated accountability like a contagious disease. But he did leave with a different face than the one he brought in. Before he stood, he said, "If you turn school honor into personal revenge, board leaders will not admire it forever. Then I guess Westbridge High should stop giving me material." My mother made a tiny sound that might have been a cough, or might have been her trying not to laugh. Dad looked at the floor. The adults from Westbridge High pretended not to notice. After they left, the apartment stayed quiet. My mother touched the phone screen where Madison's old message still sat. "You kept everything," she said. "I learned from professionals." She looked at me then. "Are you tired?" That question landed under the ribs. "A little," I said. Dad put the folder Dean Hayes had forgotten to close back into its neat stack. "Good. Tired people should still eat." So we ate noodles at our small kitchen table while Westbridge High tried to decide how much honesty it could survive. The next morning, Madison waited near the bus stop. I knew before she spoke that this was not an apology. Apologies faced facts. Madison faced angles. She wore the soft expression again, the one that had made the old me feel chosen and made the new me check for traps. "Logan," she said, "can we talk?" Several students slowed down. Westbridge High gossip had legs. Brookfield High gossip had wings. A bus stop between them was a public square with wheels. "You are talking," I said. Her fingers tightened around her bag strap. "My parents are upset because of the scam. Everyone is upset. I should have checked the official number. I know that now." "Then start there." She waited for more warmth. "I had left it at home in a sealed container. I wanted to invite you to dinner," she said. "My family is doing a small Christmas meal. We can explain things properly, like before." Again with "like before." The phrase had survived several disasters and learned nothing. "Madison," I said, "before was the problem." Her eyes brightened. She did not cry yet. She prepared the room for crying. "Do you hate me that much?" "No." That startled her more than anger would have. "I just do not belong to your emergencies anymore." The bus pulled in. A few students near the door went silent. "I am sorry," she whispered. "Then keep being sorry after people stop watching." I got on the bus. Behind me, her silence did what her tears could not. It told the truth. Westbridge High posted its statement that afternoon. It was a masterpiece of saying almost nothing with official punctuation. The school claimed it valued every student's growth, regretted online misunderstandings, respected normal transfer decisions, and would continue strengthening anti-fraud education. Tyler was not named. Morrison was not named. The deleted exit pass praise was not named. My file was wrapped in fog so thick it deserved weather warnings. I read it once. Then I opened Exit Pass. The new chapter was about a school that painted over a crack in the wall while rain poured through the ceiling. I used no names, kept the legal distance clean, and wrote one very familiar teacher telling a student to mop faster so visitors would not see the leak. Mr. Whitman read it before posting and removed one sentence. "That sentence is too close," he said. "To truth? To a lawsuit? Educational detail. Survival detail." He let the chapter go up. Brookfield High students understood immediately. Westbridge High complained within an hour that I was using literature to damage school honor, which was rich from people who had tried to use my literature after deleting it. The board noticed too. Ms. Anderson brought the notice to class after lunch. "The literature and talent showcase has been added to the demonstration school review visit. Board representatives will attend. Westbridge High has been asked to send representatives as well." The class erupted. Chloe turned around. "You are performing!" "I am being academically persecuted through extracurriculars," Grace whispered. "Emma is playing piano, right?" Emma's hand tightened around her pen. I looked at Ms. Anderson. "Teacher, what am I doing?" "Mr. Whitman submitted your name for a short literature presentation," I exhaled. "And the arts representative saw you doing card tricks for Ryan during lunch last week, so you are also listed for a magic act." The class turned toward me as one body. I stared at her. "That was a private crime." "Then stop committing crimes in public spaces. Fine, magic, literature, board leaders, Westbridge High representatives. Only my life would turn revenge into a variety show. The stage should have been hope. For about 6 hours, it was. Then Tyler Hayes learned enough to become useful to his own downfall. The first rumor appeared in a Westbridge High chat, then crossed into Brookfield High through someone who loved chaos more than sleep. Logan Miller was using Emma Blake's money. Logan Miller was running a shameful product store. Logan Miller had traded Madison for a richer girl. Madison did not post it first. She was smarter than that. Ryan sent me the screenshots in order. Tyler pushed the first dirty version. Brianna amplified it. Madison entered later with soft worry, saying she hoped I had not changed into someone who used people. That was her favorite weapon, stab with someone else's hand, then bring bandages for the audience. I looked across the library at Emma. She had not seen the screenshots yet. The ledger lay between us, clean and honest and suddenly vulnerable. My phone buzzed again. Ryan Brooks messaged, "Bad news." Ryan Brooks messaged, "Someone sent it to a parent group." Emma's phone lit up on the table. She looked at the screen. Her face went pale. "My father," she said. The final trap had found the money trail. The rumor said I had drained Emma Blake's family money to sell intimate apparel online, which was almost impressive as a lie because it used 2 real facts and beat them with a shovel. Fact 1, Emma had lent me money. Fact 2, Willow lace existed. The lie was everything Tyler and Madison wrapped around those facts, the dirty little bow that made me look like the kind of person I had spent 2 lifetimes hating. Emma's father came to Brookfield High the next afternoon. He did not storm in. That made it worse. Angry men announced themselves. Serious men signed in at the office, waited in the reception room, and let silence build furniture. Ms. Anderson found me outside the library. "Logan," she said, and her voice had no joke space in it. "Emma's father is here." Emma stood beside her, pale but upright. The bracelet was on her wrist. Her hands were folded so tightly her knuckles looked white. I closed the willow lace dashboard on the library computer. Mason looked up from a packing list. "Problem?" "Yes." He stood immediately. "Stay," I said. Mason's jaw worked. "If this is about the store, I witnessed." "I know. I may need you later. Right now, too many boys in a room with a protective father sound like a headline." He sat back down, unhappy but obedient. Growth, still rude. Ms. Anderson led us to a small meeting room near the office. Emma's father stood when we entered. He wore a dark coat, simple watch, no visible anger. That was how I knew he had brought enough. "Logan Miller," he said. "Mr. Blake." Using the name felt like stepping onto thin ice. Until that moment, he had been Emma's father in my head. In person, he became Mr. Blake because some adults arrive with their own punctuation. He looked at Emma first. "Sit." Emma sat. I stayed standing until he looked at me. "You too." I sat across from him. Ms. Anderson remained by the door, not interfering, not leaving Emma alone with the whole weight of this. Mr. Blake placed a bank statement on the table with no dramatic slam and no raised voice. Paper did enough damage by itself. That was worse. "My daughter's card was used for a supplier payment," he said. "A large one." "Yes, the school rumor says you persuaded her to fund an online store selling inappropriate products." The word inappropriate landed cleanly and coldly. Humor stopped. "The store is legal," I said. "The product pages are non-explicit. Comfort apparel, clean descriptions, discreet shipping. But yes, I accepted money from Emma for inventory." Emma's father watched me. "Why?" There were many ways to answer that badly. Because the market was hot. Because future memory said the timing mattered. Because the supplier would not hold inventory. All true, all useless if I skipped the one thing that mattered. "Because I was short," I said. "Because she offered. Because I thought a ledger made the risk acceptable. And because I should have asked to speak with you before accepting access to that card." Emma's eyes moved to me. Mr. Blake did not soften. "Show me." I opened my folder. Supplier quote. Invoice. Transfer amount. Order dashboard. Customer records with private details covered. Wage notes for Mason. Repayment schedule. Emma's savings listed separately. Card amount capped to the supplier gap. The $300,000 limit clearly unused beyond that invoice. I had made the ledger to survive an angry father. Now it had to do exactly that. Mr. Blake read every page. He asked practical questions. How many orders? What refund rate? What supplier? What shipping delay? What was already repaid? What amount remained? What happens if sales collapse? I answered all of them with plain numbers, plain records, and no magic second life confidence. Emma sat beside me, breathing carefully. Finally, her father looked up. "You are good with records. I learned from people who were bad with facts." Ms. Anderson's eyes flicked toward me. "Right, minimal jokes." I put my mouth back on a leash. Mr. Blake turned to Emma. "Did he pressure you?" Emma's fingers tightened around the bracelet. "No." "Did he ask for the card?" "No," I offered. "Why?" The room went very still. This was where Emma could hide behind me. This was where I wanted to protect her from having to explain her own trust like a defendant. She did not hide. "Because I trusted him," she said. Her voice was soft, but the words did not bend. "Emma," her father said. "He repaid the gate money when he promised. He wrote every debt down. He told me about the store when it was embarrassing. He helped Mason earn money instead of making fun of him. He warned everyone about Rockwell even when Madison mocked him." She looked at me once, then back at her father. "And when people laughed at me, he stood beside me first." That sentence did something to the room. I had defended her before, bought water, asked for apology notes, held her hand in a theater, written ledgers like a terrified accountant with romantic damage, but hearing her name, it made the whole thing heavier. Mr. Blake leaned back. "Trust does not erase risk," he said. "I know," Emma answered. "You should have called me." "I know." He looked at me again. "You should have refused until I was told." Yes, pride hated that answer. Honesty needed it. Mr. Blake gathered the papers, then pushed them back toward me. "You will repay the card amount by the date written here." "I will." You will send weekly records to Emma and to me. Yes. You will not take another dollar from her without speaking to me first. Agreed. And if the rumor spreads further, you will not let my daughter stand alone in it. That one was not a business term. I looked at Emma. I won't. Mr. Blake's face remained stern. I am not blessing this store. I did not expect a ribbon. Emma made the smallest sound. Her father looked at me for one long second. Then, very reluctantly, he said, You may keep the performance schedule. Emma will play at the showcase. Emma's shoulders loosened. Mr. Blake's private answer to the smear became a deadline, a witness, and a chance. I would take that over fake approval every time. The showcase swallowed the rest of the week. Brookfield High turned into a building with stage fright. Mr. Whitman revised the literature order. Ms. Anderson guarded rehearsal time like a border officer. The arts committee taped schedules on every wall. Emma practiced piano in the music room until even students who used to gossip about her started lowering their voices outside the door. My assignment was a short magic act before the literature presentation. Apparently, the only legal way to make Westbridge High disappear was misdirection and stage lighting. Mr. Whitman did not laugh when I said that. Do not make anyone disappear, he said. Make them look at the right thing. That was better advice than he knew. The act was simple. 3 cards, 1 envelope, 1 visible mistake, 1 reveal. Nothing grand. I was not trying to become a magician. I was building a metaphor with sleeves and saving the explanation for the stage. Ryan sent the old screenshots again, cleaner this time. Madison's first message. Her later friend request. The Westbridge High group mocking his scam warning. Brianna's jealousy accusation. Tyler's new rumor. Ryan also sent a voice note. Ryan Brooks messaged, I have officially become your evidence delivery service. Please rate 5 stars. I messaged, 4, packaging is messy. Ryan Brooks messaged, betrayal. Chloe, for once, did not treat the situation like a stage for herself. She found Emma outside the music room and said, I heard people repeating the money thing. Emma held her sheet music. I know, it was ugly. I know. Chloe looked uncomfortable in a way that made her seem younger. I used to repeat things too fast. Emma waited. I can help stop it, Chloe said. The apology was imperfect. It was useful. Emma nodded. Then stop it. Chloe did. She corrected 2 classmates before lunch and embarrassed a third by asking whether his source was Tyler Hayes or his imagination. For Chloe, that was community service with eyeliner. Mason kept studying and working between rehearsals. He had become alarmingly reliable, which made everyone suspicious. When Grace asked if he had been replaced by a better version, Mason said, paid work, and kept taping boxes. Hope was there. So was the trap. Tyler waited near the side entrance of the auditorium on rehearsal evening. He stood with 2 Westbridge High boys I recognized from the old gravitational field of trouble. Madison was a few steps behind them, wearing worry like a scarf. She did not speak first. She had learned to let other people dirty their hands. I saw them before they saw me. So did Mason. He was carrying a box of stage props and order slips because my life had become a cross-department accident. He stopped beside me. Want me to call Ms. Anderson? Not yet. Want me to hit him? Absolutely not. I asked for politeness. Your politeness needs supervision. Chloe came around the corner with her phone already in her hand. Are we recording? Only if they start, I said. Tyler saw us and smiled. Miller, he called. Busy selling Emma's money? Mason's shoulders tensed. My hands stayed open at my sides. Tyler, I said, still borrowing your father's authority? His smile twitched. One of the boys laughed under his breath. Tyler did not like that. You think you're clever because you found a rich girl to fund you, Tyler said. Madison said you always needed a girl to feel important. Madison looked down, using silence as useful cowardice. Madison says a lot when someone else can be blamed for it, I said, her head lifted. Tyler stepped closer. Say that again. I stayed still. Madison says a lot when someone else can be blamed for it. His hand came up. He wanted me to flinch. Better, he wanted me to grab him. Best, he wanted one messy second where Dean Hayes could say Logan Miller had not changed. Old me would have given him exactly what he ordered. New me looked past his shoulder. Security camera above the door, I said. Chloe's phone on your left, Mason's phone on your right. Ms. Anderson coming down the hall behind you in about 3 seconds because Mason has finally learned to text adults instead of collecting outside boys. Tyler turned. Ms. Anderson was already there. So was a venue security guard. Mason held up his phone, face blank. Best buds report danger. I hated that the lying worked. Tyler lowered his hand. The guard stepped between us. Problem? He was leaving, I said. Tyler glared at me, then at Mason, then at Chloe's phone. For the first time since I had known him, he had no clean way to make violence look like someone else's fault. Tyler Hayes had come to make me swing. He left on camera. Madison stayed a second longer. Her eyes were wet, but the old performance had cracks in it now. "You really hate me," she said quietly. "No," I said. "I finally stopped auditioning for you." Her mouth tightened. "People will believe you used Emma because you always needed someone," she said. "First me, now her." Ryan's voice came from Mason's phone on speaker. My evidence delivery service had upgraded itself to live commentary. "That is hilarious," Ryan said. "I still have the message where you asked him to come save you." Madison went still. Ryan continued. "Also the friend request. Also the scam chat where Brianna called him jealous and then your admission thing turned fake. Also your bus stop dinner invite because somebody recorded the public part. I am not saying I am a professional, I am saying pay me like one," Chloe whispered. "Ryan is terrifying when useful." Madison looked from the phone to me. For once, she did not have a soft answer ready. "Save your speech for the stage," I said. "You would embarrass me in front of everyone?" "No," I said. "You did that. I am bringing subtitles." Ms. Anderson said my name in the teacher tone. "Right," I said. "Too much." "Accurate," she said. "Still too much." Madison left with Tyler and the two boys, but the damage stayed behind in the useful form, video, witnesses, and proof that Tyler still wanted the old trap. That night, the final pieces clicked into place. Mr. Whitman approved the literature order. Emma rehearsed the piano piece once with the stage lights half on, her hands steady by the second page. Mason sent me a photo of finished order batches and a second photo of his physics worksheet, because character development now came with attachments. Chloe forwarded a list of who had repeated Tyler's rumor and who had corrected it. Ryan sent the clean screenshot folder with file names so organized I briefly wondered if fear had made him mature. Then Director Marshall's office confirmed the next day's attendance list. Board representatives, Brookfield High teachers, Westbridge High representatives, parent observers, Emma's father, Tyler, Madison, Mr. Morrison, Dean Hayes, everyone who needed the old story to survive would be sitting under the same lights. I stood backstage the next afternoon with 3 cards in my hand, 1 envelope in my pocket, and every fact arranged where it belonged. Emma waited near the piano bench, pale but upright. Mason stood near the side aisle with Chloe, both pretending they were not guarding the recording angles. Ryan had somehow secured a seat with the parent observers and sent one final text. Ryan Brooks messaged, "If you mess this up, I am charging overtime." I looked toward the front row. Dean Hayes sat beside Mr. Morrison. Tyler leaned back like he owned the air. Madison sat with her hands folded, face soft, ready to become a victim if the room allowed it. The stage manager lifted a hand. Lights warmed the curtain. The board-watched showcase began. The stage lights came up, and every person who needed the old Logan Miller had front row access. I could feel the old trap from the curtain line, Tyler waiting for my fists, Madison waiting for sympathy, Mr. Morrison waiting for fog, and Dean Hayes waiting for one mistake he could file. Emma stood near the piano. Mason, Chloe, and Ryan held the angles and screenshots. That made this stage safer than any office Westbridge High had ever owned. I walked to the center of the stage with 3 cards in one hand and 1 envelope in the other. My hands stayed visible. That mattered more than the trick. "Good afternoon," I said. "I was told to keep this short, educational, and not personally dangerous to any school's blood pressure." Ms. Anderson closed her eyes. Mr. Whitman made a small movement like he wanted to walk into traffic. Director Marshall, sitting in the front row with the board representatives, smiled once. That counted as permission. I held up the 3 cards. "This is a simple trick about attention." The cards had 3 words on them. Rumor, face, fact. "Most people think magic is hiding the truth," I said. "It is not. It is persuading people to stare at the wrong truth." I placed rumor in the middle, face on the left, fact on the right. Then I made the audience follow rumor. I turned it over, moved it once, let the card slip under my palm, and made one deliberately clumsy mistake. The room shifted when people thought they had caught me. That was the useful part of a trick. People loved catching the obvious mistake. It made them stop looking for the real one. I opened the envelope. Fact was inside. Rumor was still on the table, exactly where I had left it. The students clapped first because students respected 2 things, free entertainment and a teacher not yet stopping it. I bowed slightly. That is misdirection. Someone gives you a visible mistake, a loud rumor, or a crying face, and while you watch that, the fact quietly leaves the table. The applause faded. I looked at Mr. Morrison. "My former homeroom teacher once taught me a valuable sentence," I said. "He said, setting aside the facts, my attitude was the biggest issue." A small sound moved through the Brookfield High rows. Ryan's head dropped. I knew he was laughing. "I asked if setting aside facts could also make me the emperor," I said. "It did not. Tragic. But the sentence stayed with me." Mr. Morrison's fingers tightened around the program. Exit Pass is a story about students trying to keep their future when adults keep telling them which facts are convenient. The final chapter is not about revenge, it is about attention. What do you watch? The rumor, the face, or the fact? Mr. Whitman looked less like he wanted to die. That counted as progress by teacher standards. I picked up the envelope again. Before I talk about the school story, I need to clear one rumor that used a real person who did not deserve it. Emma's head lifted. The humor stopped there. Emma Blake lent me money for inventory for a legal online store. I accepted it. That was my decision and my responsibility. The public rumor turned her into a joke, a wallet, and a dirty headline. None of those things are true. The room went very quiet. Tyler shifted in his seat. Madison looked at me fast, then looked away. I kept product categories and private customer details off the screen. One covered ledger page went onto the projector, exactly the way Mr. Blake had seen it. It showed the supplier, quote, invoice, transfer amount, repayment schedule, and covered customer data. It also showed Emma's savings separated from her father's card record, with the amount capped to the supplier gap. The store revenue goes to wages, refunds, shipping, and repayment before I take profit, I said. Mason Cooper witnessed the inventory count. Mr. Blake reviewed these records before Emma stayed in today's showcase. He did not smile. I respected him for that. A smiling, protective father would have been more frightening. I reviewed the records, he said. My daughter was not deceived. The debt is documented. Logan Miller is under a repayment deadline. Then he sat down, short, stern, deadly to gossip. Emma held her sheet music tighter, but her shoulders were straighter now. That is the fact, I said. Anyone who wants to keep spreading the other version should at least admit they prefer the rumor. Chloe looked toward the Brookfield High rows. Several people suddenly became fascinated by their shoes. Then Madison stood. If attention was a stage, Madison Cole had never believed anyone else owned the floor. Logan, she said, voice trembling just enough. Why are you doing this here? You keep saying facts, but you are humiliating people who cared about you. The face card was trying to climb back on top. Who cared about me? I asked. Her eyes reddened. I did. Before you changed. Before you started using everything to punish me. Tyler turned his head, watching me like he hoped I would finally give him something physical to work with. I kept my hands on the table. Madison, I said, on the day Tyler blocked you in class, did you send me a message asking for help? Her mouth opened. No answer came out. I nodded to the projector. The first screenshot appeared with private numbers covered. Madison's message, her timestamp. My reply. The context that had sent me toward Tyler in the first life and nearly trapped me in the second. This came from my phone, I said. My mother saw it that day. Mr. Morrison saw it too. Mrs. Miller sat in the parent row with both hands in her lap. She did not stand. She did not need to. She looked at Madison with the calm of a woman who had already cried once and decided not to donate more tears. Madison whispered, I was scared. You were, I said. That part can be true. Then in the office, when I was asked why I approached Tyler, you said I had followed you on my own. Her lips trembled. I did not know it would become that serious. That was the first crack. It fell short of apology and courage, but the room heard the shape of the lie. The room heard it. Director Marshall's pen moved across his notes. I clicked once. The screen changed. Madison's later friend request, the bus stop dinner invitation. The message pattern Ryan had cleaned and labeled with the passion of a man who finally found a hobby that paid in chaos. After I transferred and Brookfield High reposted Exit Pass, Madison tried to contact me again. After the board video, she tried again. After the scam warning proved true, she tried again. Last night, after Tyler's rumor about Emma's money, she said people would believe I used Emma because I always needed someone. Madison's face went white. Ryan raised one hand from the parent section like a student asking permission to go to the restroom. Director Marshall looked at him. You have something relevant? Yes, sir, Ryan said, standing. I sent the screenshot folder. I was in Westbridge High Homeroom 204. I also received messages from Mr. Morrison asking me to persuade Logan to let Westbridge High clarify the novel issue quietly. Mr. Morrison stood halfway. That is not an accurate description. Ryan blinked at him. Teacher, you sent me $60. The auditorium made a sound I can only describe as collective choking with education. Ryan added, I still had the transfer record, for evidence, also guilt, mostly evidence. Ms. Anderson pressed 2 fingers to the bridge of her nose. I loved loyal people. I especially loved loyal people with screenshots and poor spending ethics. Director Marshall turned to Mr. Morrison. Sit down for now. Mr. Morrison sat. He looked smaller than he had in my old classroom. Madison stared at Ryan, then at me. Her tears were real now, but real tears did not automatically mean real innocence. You promised you liked me, she said. The old me would have bled over that sentence. The new me only felt tired. I did, I said. That was my mistake. Your mistake was thinking my feelings were a public resource. No one clapped. That was right. That line was not for clapping. Tyler shoved his chair back. Enough, he said. You are blaming her because you got rejected. The security guard near the aisle straightened. Mason shifted once, ready but still. Chloe lifted her phone. I looked at Tyler's hands, then I looked at mine. Still open. Tyler Hayes, I said, you have tried very hard to make this story about whether I will hit you. Because you want to, Tyler snapped. Probably, I said. The honesty landed harder than a heroic denial. I let the room sit with it for one breath. But wanting to hit someone and choosing not to are different facts. The side entrance clip appeared next. Chloe's angle first, shaky but clear. Tyler stepping closer. Tyler raising his hand. My voice pointing out the camera. Mason's phone. Ms. Anderson arriving. The security guard stepping between us. Tyler leaving. Then Mason's angle. Less pretty, more useful. Mason had recorded like a man filming evidence, not content. His thumb did not cover the lens. Disturbing competence, but welcome. Tyler's face changed as the clip played. Dean Hayes stood. This is a private student conflict being exaggerated. Director Marshall did not look at me. He looked at Dean Hayes. Dean Hayes, he said. Tyler Hayes is your son. Dean Hayes' jaw tightened. Yes. And you were involved in Logan Miller's original discipline handling at Westbridge High? Dean Hayes said nothing. That was an answer with better shoes. Mrs. Miller finally stood. Her voice was steady. Dean Hayes told us Logan could write a self-reflection or leave Westbridge High. Tyler Hayes' role was not handled as a protected conflict. It was handled as my son's fault. My father stood beside her. We were there. We heard it. Dean Hayes' face darkened. Parents are emotional about their children. Director Marshall's pen stomped. So are Dean's, he said. The front row froze. The line landed worse than a shout. An adult with authority had named the obvious in a room full of people trained to pretend obvious things were complicated. Dean Hayes sat down slowly. Tyler looked at his father for rescue. For once, rescue did not arrive. I clicked again. The next slide was not Tyler. It was the timeline. Education account praises exit pass. Westbridge High reposts it. Westbridge High deletes it after learning the author is Logan Miller. Westbridge High group chat claims the work may have been copied. Mr. Morrison asks Ryan and Madison to persuade Logan to let Westbridge High clarify. Brookfield High open class confirms the author publicly. Westbridge High posts a vague statement that names no one and corrects nothing. Clean, boring, lethal. Mr. Morrison said he protected studies, I said. Dean Hayes said this was discipline. Westbridge High's public statement said it respected normal transfers. Those are all face cards. The fact card is simpler. Westbridge High wanted my confession when I was a problem. Westbridge High wanted my novel when I became useful. Mr. Morrison's voice cracked. I was trying to keep order. Senior year cannot become a theater for personal grievances. Teacher, I said, and for once I used the word without sarcasm. You made it theater when you asked a student to apologize after seeing the message that proved why he stepped forward. He flinched. You made it theater when Westbridge High deleted the praise instead of admitting the author transferred. You made it theater when you treated Ryan's warning about Rockwell as jealousy and Brookfield High protected families faster than Westbridge High did. I am only choosing better lighting. Ryan whispered loudly, Stagecraft. Someone near the back laughed and then swallowed it. Director Marshall looked toward the Westbridge High representatives. The review team will record this. Before the visit closes, Westbridge High will submit a written correction. He did not look away. It will address Logan Miller's transfer record, the exit pass deletion, and the handling of Tyler Hayes' conflict of interest. Dean Hayes should not participate in any review involving his son or Logan Miller. Mr. Morrison's senior teacher recommendation should be held until the investigation is complete. The words landed one by one: written correction, transfer record, deletion, conflict of interest, recommendation held. The room got official language instead of fireworks, and somehow that was worse. The right words finally stepped on the right people's feet. Tyler stood again. You cannot do that because of a stupid performance. The security guard moved closer. Director Marshall did not raise his voice. Sit down. Tyler looked at Dean Hayes. Dean Hayes did not move. Tyler sat. That was when I knew the old script had broken. Madison had cried. Morrison had gone pale. Director Marshall had spoken, but the real fracture came when Tyler Hayes looked for protection and found an empty chair wearing his father's face. I should have enjoyed it more. Then I looked at Emma. She was still near the piano, sheet music held against her chest, bracelet bright on her wrist. The room had cleared my name, but the rumor had touched her. It had put her money, her father, her trust, and her dignity under public light. Revenge felt clean only from a distance. Up close, it had people standing in it. I stepped away from the projector. Emma, I said, quieter. She looked at me. You do not have to say anything. For a second, I thought she would nod and sit at the piano. That would have been fair, more than fair. She had already done enough. Instead, Emma walked to the center of the stage. The auditorium changed around her. Even the students who used to whisper about her glasses and her quiet voice seemed to understand they were watching someone decide how visible she wanted to be. Emma stood beside me, not behind me. Small detail, huge difference. She faced the audience. I lent Logan money, she said. Her voice shook on my name, then steadied. I was afraid after people started talking. I was afraid my father would be angry. I was afraid people would think I was stupid. No one moved. The joke space was gone, exactly as it should be. Emma touched the bracelet once, then let her hand fall. But I was not tricked. I chose. Logan wrote down every debt, repaid what he promised before, protected me when people laughed, helped Mason instead of using him, and warned people about Rockwell even when Westbridge High mocked him. Her father watched her with a face that had no softness in it until you knew where to look. I was learning. Emma turned toward Madison. And I am not a replacement. Madison's mouth parted. Emma looked back at the room. I am Emma Blake. I play piano. I study at Brookfield High. I made a lending decision with a ledger and a deadline. If anyone wants to laugh at me, at least use my real name. Silence. Then Chloe started clapping. That was Chloe. Timing, confidence, and a long unpaid debt to Emma's dignity. Mason clapped next, awkward and loud. Ryan joined from the parent section like a man trying to clap his way out of future labor. Brookfield High students followed, then parents, then even a few teachers who probably knew they were not supposed to show preference but had hands and feelings anyway. Emma exhaled. I did not touch her on stage, not yet. She had chosen visibility for herself. I was not going to turn it into my trophy. She walked to the piano. The next part of the showcase was supposed to be a transition. It became the answer. Emma sat, adjusted the bench, and placed her hands on the keys. The first notes were a little tight. Then her shoulders settled. The piece opened up, soft at first, then clearer, then strong enough that the auditorium forgot to be hungry for scandal. I stood near the side curtain and listened. In my old life, I had spent years remembering the girl everyone overlooked because she became brilliant after I had already ruined myself. In this life, I had found her before the applause. I had seen the glasses, the nervous hands, the careful savings, the way she believed in ledgers and second chances with a courage that did not know how pretty it was. I had thought I was choosing a future. Somewhere along the way, I chose the present. When the last note faded, Emma's hands stayed on the keys for 1 second too long. Then she stood. The applause came again, fuller this time. Director Marshall stood with it. So did Dean Roberts. Mr. Blake clapped 3 times. Exactly 3. Stern fathers had brand consistency. Emma looked at me from the piano. I smiled. The smile had no blade in it. It was just hers. The aftermath arrived through forms, stamps, meetings, and adults pretending fairness had always been the plan. Westbridge High posted the correction the next morning. Exit Pass was my original work. The deleted repost had caused misunderstanding. My transfer record would not carry discipline language from the Tyler Hayes incident, and the school would review conflict of interest handling in student discipline. The wording still wore a tie and tried to look harmless. Parents read between the lines anyway. Tyler entered formal disciplinary review, and his athletic recommendation was suspended pending the outcome. Dean Hayes was removed from the review group tied to student discipline and the demonstration school culture file. Mr. Morrison's senior teacher applications stopped moving. Bureaucracy had finally found a way to say, please enjoy the consequences of setting aside facts. Ryan sent me the screenshot of Westbridge High's correction with one message. Ryan Brooks messaged, Emperor Logan, your decree arrived. I messaged, setting aside facts, I prefer your majesty. Ryan Brooks messaged, pay me first. Some friendships survived only because distance protected them from being strangled. Madison tried one final soft lighting act. Screenshots kept circulating, and Westbridge High Homeroom 204 stopped treating her tears as automatic evidence. Brianna found new topics. Tyler, busy with his own review, stopped standing beside her like a borrowed wall. Madison Cole messaged, are you happy now? I deleted the chat request without answering. Mercy had nothing to do with it. I was graduating from a class I should never have enrolled in. Willow Lace survived the holiday rush with tape, printer ink, and Mason Cooper arguing politely with customers like every dear customer cost him a piece of his soul. The first large revenue settlement went to Emma's ledger. The next went to wages, refunds, and the remaining card balance. By the repayment deadline, Mr. Blake's card was cleared. I sent him the receipt. Mr. Blake replied, received. Mr. Blake replied, continue weekly records until SAT. Emma read the message and laughed into her sleeve. My father likes records, she said. Miss Blake, I said, your family expresses affection through audits. You express affection through ledgers too. That was unfair because it was accurate. Mason passed the scoreline Mr. Thompson had set for him and acted like he had personally invented studying. Chloe congratulated him and pretended not to care. Ryan did not transfer to Brookfield High. He did something more shocking and studied for 40 minutes in one sitting. Ms. Anderson replied to his proof with 3 words. Ms. Anderson replied, "More! Tomorrow! Again!" Teacher cruelty remained academically universal. Brookfield High's demonstration school culture review rose. The official praise mentioned literature development, student initiative, anti-fraud response, balanced discipline, and public performance quality. It skipped the part where half the review became a live autopsy of Westbridge High's face-saving habits. Official documents lacked poetry. That was why Exit Pass existed. The final chapter went up 2 nights later. The post left Madison, Tyler, Mr. Morrison, and Dean Hayes unnamed. I wrote about a student who learned that the easiest person to sacrifice was the one who kept volunteering. I wrote about a card trick, a piano bench, a ledger, and a stage where the fact finally stopped leaving the table. The comments exploded. I closed them after 10 minutes. SAT was still coming. Second chances were not free. They were work with better information, so I did simple things repeatedly. Study, update, pack orders, repay debts, walk Emma to the bus stop, stop when she wanted silence, tease her when she looked too serious. Let her tease me back when my low-key behavior once again involved standing beside board leaders in public photos like a humble disaster. One evening after self-study, Emma and I walked past the Brookfield High Literature Board. The repost of Exit Pass was still pinned there, older now, crowded by newer notices. Her piano showcase photo had been added beside it. In the picture, she sat at the bench under the stage lights with her back straight and hands poised, no longer hiding from the room. Emma looked at the photo for a long time. "I was very nervous," she said. "I noticed. You did not hold my hand." I glanced at her. "You were holding your own ground." She looked down. The bracelet slid against her sleeve. Then she reached for my hand herself. The hallway held old posters, quiet windows, my ridiculous second chance, and Emma's fingers fitting between mine in the school that had given me room to become someone else. The first time Tyler Hayes humiliated Madison Cole, I ruined my life trying to save her. This time, I kept my hands in my pockets. I refused to save the girl who used me as a shield. And somehow, with facts on the table, Emma beside me, and my future still ahead, I saved the only life that was actually mine.